straight.
All right.
Other than that, let's just jump into it, man. The Throne, welcome back, episode 101. It feels kind of weird saying that. We're getting into the hundreds. But I'm back, man. New guest. Well, I mean, you've been here before, but it's been a minute. Eric Faden, what's going on with you,
Good
bro?
to be back, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No pressure, man. It's been a while. I think you were on episode 47, so
Okay.
this is 50 episodes later, almost. I think almost like on the head.
I have it like hearted on my SoundCloud playlist.
Yeah.
Of liked tracks, and then I'll be like listening to some song, or whatever, and then it just goes into my voice, and I'm like, "What is that? What is that?" Especially if I'm in the car with somebody, I'm like, "Don't mind that." It just
Yeah, I don't listen to myself talk. I swear. No, but it was a great episode, man. We definitely touched on a lot.
Yeah,
I
you.
think that was like 2019-ish.
If it was early 2019. It's a long while back.
Yeah. It was definitely. It's just I think it was just when I started in the studio. Like I didn't have any of this art up or
No,
anything
you didn't.
like that.
Yeah.
But just doing different shit, man. It's been a while. I know you've been up to some different shenanigans. Actually, I went to go see you with Otto down at Bar Nancy. So that was fun. I finally got to do that. I still haven't gotten Otto on the show. He's down to do it, man. It's just hard to tie that dude down. And
I know. He's really busy.
Yeah, when he's here, he's doing his dad shit. So I totally respect that. You know what I mean? Like he actually sets time aside to.
It's been a long time since I've done it. He did a live stream a couple days ago, but I wasn't able to make it. But yeah, I miss all that, man.
That's like a popular thing now. Is like DJs doing battles and shit, or like Ludacris versus I think it was Swiss Beats or some shit. I don't know.
They've got to make do. They got to make the music. There's no live shows. There's no.
Man, it's such a bummer.
Yeah, I almost don't even want to think about it because I was going to say, I miss it. I want the contact. I want the crowd. I want to be around people.
Yeah.
And that just seems like it's not even close to being a thing anytime soon.
Dude, I don't know about you, but even me, like now watching TV shows and shit, when you see people like dapping people up or like hugging and shit, you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Those are outlaws.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
They just said today that now we have to wear a mask in public in most of the populated cities in Miami.
It's like mandated now.
Well, it's totally illegal, but it's temporarily law, I guess. I don't know.
You're saying it's illegal because you're not allowed to cover your face in public, right?
No, you could cover your face in public, but the government can't say that you have to.
That's so weird. It's like a weird. Like,
so like they're I'm saying that they're mandating it. They have like their little executive order or whatever.
But they're not technically allowed to do that.
It's not. Yeah, it'll be like lawsuit city whenever this thing passes. The government can't force you to wear any kind of piece of clothing in particular.
So how many people do you think are really going to put down their money to try and sue their local whatever?
Well, they have to get arrested or something, and then they have a case.
Okay. That's fair game.
Right.
I thought you mean someone just like...
I mean, they could just file, but
yeah.
they'd probably have to be like damaged first. Like something would have to happen to them, and then they have a case to say, well, that wasn't supposed to happen to me because I don't need to wear your mask. It doesn't say it anywhere in the state constitution or the country constitution, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
So when did that go into effect? I didn't hear about that shit.
The mayor of Miami-Dade said it today. Yeah, I live in Broward, too. I think we're okay for now. But
it's coming soon, right? Pretty much Dade and Broward County kind of follow each other, it seems.
I think Miami's been a little worse in the whole lockdown thing, it seems like. When I go, I mean, the beaches stayed closed way later.
They're more populated, though. It's more dense. People live more on top of each other than they do here in Broward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of feel that way because Broward's huge. So you get up to Weston, I mean, houses are big. Yeah. They got a lot of space versus Miami. You got efficiencies, apartments. You got the metro rail and shit like that.
Yeah.
That shit you don't see up here.
Yeah, traffic in Miami is bad, man. That's part of the reason why I left. I mean, I still go to Miami like every day, but living there and being all on it every day.
No, man, it's cool to say, hey, I live in Miami, whatever. But yo, that traffic gets to you, bro. Or after a Dolphins game, if you're anywhere, you know what I'm saying?
I used to live right by it.
Yeah, and that's to give away where you were staying or whatever, but you used to live like right around the stadium.
Man, yeah.
I
Sundays,
couldn't imagine.
I'd be like, gotta go the other way.
Yeah, you got to find the alternate route 100% because it's pretty much untravelable. Like they shut the shit down just to let people out of the stadium.
Yeah, it's bad for hurricanes too.
Miami, when the college team plays there, right?
Yeah.
It gets bad anytime there's any kind of event there, man. I remember I went to see Metallica there.
Oh, yeah.
And just trying to catch an Uber after was a fucking nightmare, dude. I had like 8% on my phone. I was like, even if I order an Uber, my phone might not make it till when he gets here because of all this traffic.
When they had those big concerts, you could have heard it from my backyard. So I remember like Beyonce played, and I could hear her. All the Rolling Louds I could hear from my backyard.
Oh man, and you never went, huh?
No, I've been, yeah.
Did you get to see XXX before?
No,
before
I went
passed?
the day after that. I went the day I went that Sunday.
Bummer.
I didn't. No, I went that Saturday. He played a Sunday, and I didn't make it.
Why did you choose to go Saturday and not Sunday if that was your boy?
I don't remember what I had going on.
Did you
I think
fuck
it was
with
on
him
a
at that
Mother's
time?
Day. Yeah, I did. I think it was Mother's Day.
Oh.
I must have went. Yeah, I think I went Saturday and I saw like Migos and Trick Daddy, and then Sunday he performed, and it was Mother's Day. Oh well.
Man, it's always like one of those things. Hindsight, man. Hindsight. But I mean, we just passed his death anniversary. I don't know. Isn't that like a weird thing to kind of like commemorate?
Yeah. I try not to think about it. It gets me kind of in my feelings once in a while.
No, of course. But I mean, especially being the fact that he was from here, it kind of hits close to home. It's actually fun. Funnily enough, the day that he died is actually the day that the original owner of the company I work for died.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we were doing like a little memorial thing for him the day that X died. And so I heard afterwards, I was like, oh shit, he got shot or whatever. But, it came out later that he actually had passed away. And so it's kind of weird. It's like so a coworker of mine was wearing like a blue shirt at work. And I made fun of him. It was like a light blue shirt. I was like, oh man, fucking bright ass shirt, huh? And he was like, you know why I'm wearing this shirt? You know what day it is? I go, it's the day XXX died, right? And this is old white dude. Of course, he's not gonna.
Right.
He's not. The joke is he would not know who the fuck XXX even is. And it ends up being, oh no, the portrait of the owner is on the wall. He's wearing the same color shirt. So I'm like, oh shit, they died on the same day.
Wow.
It's kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah. No, man. To the kids in the younger generation, it's like they remember where they were. It's like when Kennedy got shot to like our parents. Like they're like, where were you when XXX Tentacion
right.
was pronounced dead?
So many of them are dying though. I mean, since we last did the podcast, Juice WRLD died.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mac Miller was already dead. I think he was. But Juice WRLD died. Pop Smoke died.
It took a big hit out of the whole like SoundCloud wave, man.
Juice WRLD?
Everything. XXX dying, Juice WRLD dying, Tekashi going to jail, all that stuff. I mean, what's his name? Melly, YNW Melly.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, I feel like that was gaining so much.
friends.
No, I'm not defending him or saying he's cool. I'm just they were gaining so much steam, and it seemed like they were like really ripe to take over, and then it just kind of flatlined, and now things are a little shifted back towards the mainstream.
I want to kind of delve into that. You briefly touched on 6ix9ine going to jail. You're like one of the only like avid fucking 6ix9ine like marks that I see online. Dude.
Like people that like him. People
Yeah. So
there's people that like him. They just won't show it.
Are you trolling or like what?
No,
is
I
that?
like
you
him. I
really
like him.
fuck with him?
Yeah, I like him. I think I like him as a rapper, and I like him as like a troll on the internet.
Okay. So is it more that you like the personality of it? Like, is he like a Weird Al Yankovic type rapper, a Lil Dicky type rapper to you, or like you really fuck with his music the same way you fuck with like X's music?
No, I don't put them on the same level anywhere. Like I don't put them anywhere nearly as on the same level as an
rattled
artist.
them off in the list of people that affected the SoundCloud thing, like in the same
Well, I just
list.
think him disappearing from that damaged that wave, that potential that was coming out of the whole like underground rap thing.
Okay.
Severely, because he was just gone and he couldn't make music for a while. And then I think he had released an album that he was hyping, and then he went to jail, and then it ended up being released while he was in jail, so he wasn't able to promo it as well as he would have. And that album, I mean, it's good. It has songs with like Kanye West and Nicki Minaj or whatever. But anyways, my take on him, I heard about him in like 2017 when he was just kind of popping off, and I thought it was good. I was like, whoa, this is needed. Like there's no like hard gangster rap right now, really, and it ended up being that he kind of just like paid a bunch of bloods to be in his videos or whatever, and it's like all fake, made up.
Right.
But I mean, the video is still awesome, and it just seemed like whenever I had been like, I don't know, I imagine if I wanted to be a rapper and I wanted to like pop off, I would probably like get a bunch of people with guns and mean dogs and like girls shaking their asses and put them in the back of my video, and then just like to hype me up, and I'd be like, all right, we're gonna make it. And I think he made that work, and he did that. And I mean, I liked his music, and then on the internet, he's just like this perfect jester. Like calling out rappers, calling it.
He's super entertaining, man. I can't.
Right.
I
I mean,
can't
his
lie to you.
Instagram lives in 2018 before he got locked up were hilarious. He would call out Trippie Redd. He would call out whoever, and then just tell him the most ridiculous shit, like or Chief Keef, I'm gonna go to Chicago, and then he's like posting pics of him in Chicago. He's like, you never came or whatever.
I mean, that video of him like just popping out the car for a second, doing the little video or a picture, and then just popping back in his car at like 4 a.m, 5 a.m, some shit when no one's out.
Yeah, he's like, I'm in your city. What's up?
Come on, man. That shit was so silly.
No, a lot of it is really goofy, and a lot of it comes out to be that it's not real or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And it is what it is. I do like his music, and I did see him live, and it was a fantastic show. It was really fun.
Didn't that show that you were gonna go to like get canceled or some shit? Or you saw him live before that?
Otto was supposed to open up for him.
I remember that.
And then he went to jail.
I dead ass, bro. I was like, oh shit, I might be able to get 6ix9ine on my podcast. That's the first thing I thought when I saw Otto and you were gonna be there. I was like, let me see if I can finagle Faden to get this dude on my podcast somehow.
Yeah, I mean, no, I was never in touch with him. I had no clout or whatever. But it was gonna happen, and then it just wasn't. And I don't know if that was ever gonna come to fruition.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah.
I'm saying for me that he didn't come on the show because who knows, man? I don't know. My house could have got shot up later. Who knows?
If I'm the only person that you know that like outwardly likes him, there's got to be more people that just like him, not outwardly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, just because you like mark out hard for this dude, like, not.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I guess I'd made a couple posts.
I guess because you're the only one like on my timeline that it sticks out, you know. Because everyone else is like, look at this clown, and they share it like to laugh at it. You're like, yo, this shit's fire type shit.
So he went to jail and then he snitched, but then he owned it. Right? He didn't. He
kind
of just came out and he was like, I'm a rat. Like. Which is not really respectable in its own thing, but
I don't like you of all people would kind of like be weird about that.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not about that. But the problem I have is that there's this like no snitches thing or like no snitching is a thing that people live by that is like a street code, and we see people saying like, I don't like 6ix9ine because he's a rat that don't live by that. That aren't about that, and they're not about that. So when they're saying something like, "Oh no, he's a snitch. I don't fuck with him," you're like, "Dude, you're the first person that was snitch. What are you talking about?"
Right.
There's like so many people that give him shit that in the same position would do the same, if not worse, thing.
Yeah, but he put himself in that position. He portrayed himself as that gangster type dude.
Right. No, I mean, I don't really have any defense for his actions. I think it's silly. Like he kind of got away with it to some extent, and then he didn't. I don't wish prison on somebody for the. I mean, as far as I can tell, the things that he did, like if he tried to get Chief Keef murdered, okay, then that's obviously bad, and there should be punishment for it.
On somebody on camera, he's like, I got a 30-pack on such and such. It's pretty obvious what that means, you know. And then there's also the pedophile allegations, the video, 13-year-old in the video. I can't ignore that.
That's how old she was.
13.
No.
That's what I heard.
But the allegation was not that he did anything with the girl. It was that he got like a lap dance while he was fully clothed. The other guy is the one that got something with the girl.
But he was there. It's the same argument that you can make for the 3 cops that stood around and watched George Floyd get murdered. No?
No, it's not the same thing.
But why not? Well, but how not? I mean, if
look up the docket of what the accusation of what Daniel Hernandez at the time did, and
Daniel.
It's not the same thing as the cops that murdered George Floyd.
Okay, all right, fair. So you're saying he was just, what did he get? Because did he get convicted of anything, or was he acquitted of something? I know he went to court for it.
He got charged with like a lewd acts with a minor or something like that.
That's kind of crazy, though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, people call him a rapist. What he did was in no way
pleaded guilty to filming a 13-year-old child perform oral sex on a grown man in 2015. So he pleaded guilty to that.
Right, yeah.
That's fucking...
And I think he went to jail for it for some short amount of time.
That's gross. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, XXX did some wild shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. But not on that level. Like, that's kind of crazy.
I think XXX's story was a lot more interesting. A lot more... It seemed
there
like...
were more
there
factors
was
into it. This is pretty cut and dry disgusting.
Yeah.
So... And I guess you can make it goes back to that conversation separating an art from the artist, right? But at what point do you draw the line? Because I mean.
Hey.
And you can't say he was ignorant either. What, he was 17, 18. Who cares how old he was, really? I mean, it's kind of fucked up regardless.
Yeah, I mean,
not to put you in the hot seat, man. I'm not trying to say, hey,
I'm not his lawyer. I'm not his best friend.
You're condoning it, but I'm saying you do fuck with his music, and this is like outwardly known shit.
Right, but if we didn't appreciate the music of people that have done bad things that make that music, we wouldn't be able to like barely any good music.
Okay.
Which is not a defense
That's
for what he's saying.
That's a fair argument, though.
It's not to say that I agree with what he did or what or with what any artist that I like has done. I mean, there's artists that were creepy as fuck, you know.
Right.
And it goes back from any kind of generation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So
he's not the first crazy motherfucker to make music that people fuck with.
Right. I mean, he's a dumb kid. He's shown that over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
He's a troll. He's for entertainment purposes. You know, I don't look up to him as like some kind of honorable person.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. No, that's fair. I feel like I just have to ask that just because it's so publicly known that I feel like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't just.
Well, yeah. I like the rappers take the bait every time he calls them out and shit. And I think
Snoop Dogg especially.
Oh my God, Snoop Dogg.
That was hilarious.
Snoop Dogg, and like, man, I used to love Snoop Dogg so much. Like as a musician, as a person, I thought he was so funny and like. But what is, you know, you don't, if Snoop Dogg is who he says he is and he's this legend in hip hop and whatever, why is he punching down? Why is he taking the bait from Tekashi 6ix9ine?
I don't know.
But it's that he's not that legend. He really isn't. I think he's more or less irrelevant when it comes to this kind of thing.
To what kind of thing? To talking shit on Instagram?
To rap music today.
Okay. But I think, I mean, but like, isn't legend like someone who did some shit way back in the day that like stands the test of time? Like, you could still put on Doggy Style and it's a solid album, could you not?
For sure, but so what? It was like 30, 40 years ago.
Okay, but isn't that what the whole point of being a legend is? Is that you have to have previous works? Like, yes. Kanye wouldn't be a legend without Graduation, without College Dropout, without 808s.
I wouldn't deny that he's a legend. I'm just denying the fact that anybody cares like what he has to say about modern rappers.
Okay, so you're saying why are you
like,
even
and like
in
Tekashi
the
6ix9ine
of it?
If we're looking at it, like who's a better rapper right now? It's not even a question.
Who's a better rapper?
Yeah, right now.
You're saying between Snoop Dogg and 6ix9ine?
Yes.
And you're saying 6ix9ine wins that?
Obviously, yes.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to lie, though.
What's the last time Snoop Dogg dropped a hit?
No, I was going to tell you.
Without looking it up.
No. I'm not going to look it up. But I was just about to say, like, most of the time when Snoop Dogg drops a guest verse, it's trash. Like,
it's most of the time when he drops a...
It's like on a Katy Perry song or whatever. Okay.
Look, man, I love Snoop Dogg. I swear, you know, like in middle school when you like write rappers' names on your like textbooks and book bag and shit.
But I can't.
No, but like when was the last time Snoop Dogg had a hit that like everybody knew?
Drop It Like It's Hot.
Dude, I was 13 years old when that shit came out.
Woo! Damn, Snoop Dogg.
That's the one that I think of too. That's the one that I think.
Drop It Like It's Hot, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that shit is almost 20 years old.
Fuck. Well,
so that's what I'm saying. Like Tekashi dropped more hits in the past 2 years than while he was in jail even than Snoop Dogg had his whole career.
Wow. Well, no, not his whole career. No.
There's those bangers from the 90s.
He's dropped more than 2 hits. He's dropped more than 2 hits, man. Especially if you consider the stuff he did with Dre, where it's like half and half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that they put. I mean, 6ix9ine has had at the most 5 hits. I'm talking.
It's not about.
You know what I'm saying?
It was somebody else was calling out J. Cole and whatever, and
the No Name thing.
Oh, J. Cole was saying something about
that girl No Name who tweeted out some shit in that new song.
No, I don't.
Or are you thinking about something different?
It might have been Tekashi that he was saying something about.
Oh, was it Lil Pump back in the day?
It was Lil Pump, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was
he was like trying to give him advice or whatever, trying to like Lil Bro him.
I remember that time.
And Lil Pump was like, "Dude, like you're an old head." I mean, I really sympathize with that. Like these. He might have been 16 years old at the time or 18 years old at the time. And like J. Cole wants to tell him what to do. I don't, when his music is selling more, making more hits than that. Like Snoop Dogg wants to tell Tekashi 6ix9ine, "Oh, get my name out your mouth." Tekashi does he has a force field around that. You know, like
I think
those bullets are just flying off.
I think that's a bad comparison though, because since that little thing between Pump and Cole, where is Cole at and where is Pump at? When's the last time Pump dropped a song that hit? You tell me, because you listen to him. Was it not Gucci Gang? Or no, I Love It with Kanye West, right? That was it. That was what, 2018?
Nah. He's had songs.
He dropped an album and it came and went. No one gave a fuck, bro. You can't deny that. The Harvard dropout shit, no one listened to that. No one was looking for that.
maybe.
One was.
But
so that came and went, and then Cole drops a song and everyone shits their pants.
Cole has his stands.
Of course, everyone does.
Still don't think that why does he have to take it upon himself to be the big brother of anybody?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he came out of pocket, but I do think that just being dismissive of somebody's advice isn't necessarily productive. Like, what do you have to lose just from listening to somebody's advice who's in the position you want to be?
Right.
As in, like, he's a successful rapper, and you're an up-and-coming rapper. You could say Lil Pump was successful at the time already, but do you want to maintain that success, or do you want to be that one-hit wonder?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. To Cole's credit is that
he doesn't have to give him any
almost
advice.
Everybody's a one-hit wonder. Right?
Yeah.
To be a not one-hit wonder is really okay. You made your place in something.
Especially because Cole had that kind of like Beatles-esque flip where when he started, he was real mainstream, real poppy, making a little love, half R&B songs, where it was about the hook and the chorus. And then he kind of flipped at a certain point and became like this conscious.
Yeah, now he's like in the lyrical, under the lyrical umbrella.
Right, and it's not easy to make that flip, especially when you could be saying goodbye to all your success. How you got to where you are is with this poppy bubblegum shit. Yeah. It's like when the Beatles go from Let Me Hold Your Hand to the White Album or fucking Sgt. Pepper's. It's different. So I respect him in that
the X-axis and the Y-axis of that is just an exponential more amount of drugs.
Yeah. So and
the longer the hair they got, the more like trippy and hippie their music got.
Yeah. And I actually heard that like there's sessions where they dosed on LSD and whatnot. They were mostly throwaways. Like they're like, fuck this sounds terrible. When they sobered up and listened to it back, they're like, this is trash. So they would just get inspired and then record sober. And I think that's probably the best thing to do, man, because I've never had a good time recording under the influence. Like the studio's so meticulous. And it's so, I don't know if you've ever been in the studio for recording. I know you don't do anything.
I have, as like guest vocals on a few things.
And that process of, nah, wasn't a good take, do it over. And it's like your 10th take. At some point, you're just like, man, I'm sick of this shit. You know what I mean? And so sometimes you're in a bad headspace. You don't want to be drunk or high or whatever. But that's kind of getting far from the topic. But, yeah, Cole, I think his heart was in the right place. But, yeah, maybe he came out of pocket in that situation. But I don't think there's anything necessarily bad. If you want to give somebody some advice, maybe if they don't ask you for it.
Just generally.
You can't be mad if they say, hey, I didn't ask for that,
Right. I just think that there's like this tension between the younger and the older generation that doesn't need to be. Exactly. Like the old rappers they call the new wave rappers mumble rap. Yeah, and I don't really understand the whole what they're pissed about or what. I mean, it sounds like they're salty because their type of music is kind of getting evolved out. Like, and
this has always been a thing, though.
Right. But exactly. So it's hard for me not to take the side of the younger generation because it sounds like Snoop Dogg and whoever else it may be saying, oh, these new kids and they don't rap. Like Ice-T and Ice Cube are mad on Twitter all the time about new rappers and shit. And it's like, well, you guys are kind of like corny and irrelevant
now. But you got to understand that they were the Tekashi of the time.
Yeah.
When people were listening to Eric B. and Rakim. And then Snoop Dogg comes out talking about he's fucking hoes and his mom.
No, and I think like NWA is totally like revolutionary. Like we're like one of the most important hip hop acts
when NWA
ever.
Came out.
Right, and I can't like say enough how much respect I have for them and how much I liked them when I was younger, and I'll still listen to them now. But I don't think just because you used to be really great at something means that you have to you get a say in what's going on now. It's like when like the old basketball players say that the new basketball players
Charles Barkley.
yeah. Right, like Charles Barkley wants to say everybody this or that, and then they come back at him like you never won anything. You never won a championship.
Like, come on, Charles, you ain't got a ring, Charles. Come on now.
Right.
So you could always hit him with that. And that's a good point. It's almost like when like some president from like the 80s is like, hey, well, this is what it's like. Shut up, bro. You're president in the 80s. No one cares. No one cares about Jimmy Carter's opinion. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Or like George W. Bush recently.
He came out and said something. It was negative about Trump, right?
I don't know that he wasn't handling the corona outbreak.
Right. And then everybody was like, "Whoa, look what George W. Bush is." I'm like, "You guys are holding up this guy."
He was the Satan in 04, dude.
Yeah. This guy's the devil.
Yeah.
You guys are backing him up now just because he agrees with you.
Yeah, I remember
it's ridiculous.
that. As a kid, I remember seeing like these 9/11 documentaries and shit. Who's that dude? Michael Moore.
Oh yeah.
Putting out these docs and shit.
It's. So we see a lot of like screeching online about Donald Trump, and I think it's imperative for people to remember that that the history of the country is not the little window that they're living in. I mean, like George W. Bush was unequivocally a worse president than Donald Trump.
100%.
And people just forget that. People think like, oh, I mean, and Barack Obama did a bunch of terrible things too that. Mm-hmm. They'll get mad that Donald Trump does it just because he's like on the other team or whatever, or he's not a Democrat or I don't know what it is. And then those things are totally unexcused when it's Obama or Bush is too far in their memory
whatever
for them to bring it up.
Whatever team that they support,
right?
When their team does it.
Like it's cool. It's cool to say fuck Trump. It's cool, and you know I'm not a supporter by any means, but he gets a lot of shit for things that other people got away with.
100%. A lot of at first one of the biggest. No, I don't know. There was so many scandals. To try and fucking figure out an order is ridiculous. But when the pictures were coming out of, oh, hey, Trump is detaining kids and locking them in cages, right. A lot of those pictures were taken during Obama's presidency, 2014, 2015.
While Biden was the vice president. So
Correct.
He also can't say shit about it.
Correct. and I'm sure he's, at some point, within the past 4 years, given Trump shit about the kids in the cages.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't say shit. The same stuff was happening under your watch when you were vice president. So it's super hypocritical. And I didn't vote in 2016 specifically. I feel like if no one voted, then the game, the jig is up. You know what I mean? So
they wouldn't be able to say that they had the support of people or that they had a mandate.
Right. So I try and just take myself out of that game, because then I can't complain. I chose the president at that point. If they win or if they lose, I participated. So I didn't vote. And then when Hillary Clinton got the Democratic nomination over Bernie, and it was revealed that that was going like they basically fucked Bernie out of it in the DNC, and all that came out, and then all the Bernie supporters that were staunchly against Hillary were just like, yeah, but lesser two evils, gotta vote for Hillary. And I was like, wait, you just spent the last 6 months shitting on Hillary for Bernie, and then she's the nominee, so you flip.
That's
all your values go out the window because Trump is worse than that. It's like, what happened to everything that you stood for?
They don't have values. That's the thing. They don't.
Right. Correct. That's the kind of point that I try and make by pointing that out. And it's never that.
But I like that you say that, because a lot of people will say like, oh, if you don't vote, then you can't complain. But you flipped that logic on them, and you said, well, if you vote, then you can't complain because you're supporting what we have.
Correct.
What we have is because of you, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's how I've always seen it.
I like that. You flipped the logic on them.
I mean, it just makes sense. If I didn't vote for this. How is this my fault? You know what I mean?
Right, you can still complain.
Yeah, correct.
I don't vote either, and I get a lot of shit for it, and
I don't understand that.
I can still complain. I mean, people say, well, if you're not voting, you can't complain. Well,
bullshit. It's the other way around to me, man. It's the other way around, because it wasn't my choice. It was yours, buddy. You feel me? So and then,
my hands are clean. This is your fault.
Correct. That's how I see it. And then another thing is, all the people that took their time out to go vote for Hillary Clinton, they did it. They got the popular vote. And what was their reward?
Yeah.
The other guy won anyway.
They got the sticker.
Yeah, they got the sticker that said I voted, dude. They more people literally voted for their candidate, and the other guy won anyway because he hit the battleground states, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Yeah, she ran a really bad campaign.
Awful.
She ran in
She's
California,
like, oh, I got Pennsylvania in the bag. It's fine. That's a blue state. She was going to
win it anyways, right?
And she fucked up. She miscalculated. And Trump capitalized on it. And he won the Electoral College vote. And that's the shit that matters. So to me, it's like, my point is even more validated. It's like, okay, you got more votes and you still lost. So voting is a waste of fucking time.
What I like to say to people is like, voting is kind of like an exercise in a hobby almost. If you like voting, go ahead and vote. I mean, I personally have a lot of reasons as to why I don't. The main one being that on an individual level, it's mathematically pixie dust. Right. It's mathematically ineffective. It doesn't. My individual vote doesn't do anything. It's never going to do anything. It never has done anything in a national election. Right. I mean, if there's candidates that are obviously less worse than the others, that I think votes for them are better than votes for the others, but not by much. and they generally don't do much. I mean, what's cool, like if you vote for a smaller party, if they get enough votes, the big parties have to take notice and they have to adopt some of their policies, or at least pretend like they're going to get, because they don't like the third parties getting votes. They go, oh no, if the Green Party's saying this or the Libertarian Party's saying that, let's adopt some of their policies that way. So in that way, the smaller parties can kind of change the Republican or Democratic Party. But
how do you feel about that argument people were making, that if you vote for a Libertarian Party, that's a vote for Trump because you're just not voting for our party?
I think it's stupid, and people also, Trump fans will say that you're giving a vote to Biden by voting for the Libertarian Party.
Right. Both. Well, I guess you could say vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, red says that's a vote for blue, and blue says that's a vote for red.
Yeah.
I say no, it's a vote for Libertarian.
It's a vote for the yellow one. I mean, it doesn't. Why do they assume that a vote that hasn't been placed yet is theirs, and that they have some kind of claim to it?
And that's always ridiculous. That's always the funniest shit. That's why every time someone tells me,
it's like, it's their vote until proven otherwise. No, it's mine, and I can throw it out if I want.
Yeah, exactly. But always when you have these people who tell you, oh yeah, you need to go vote, Eric, or you need to go vote, JC, whatever. It's always funny if you know which side they stand, and it's usually easy to tell. If you talk to someone more than 2 or 3 times about politics, you'll be able to tell what side they're on, just because there's so many red or blue issues almost, it seems. Right. Whereas before, it used to be
things are real divisive right now.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the word. Whereas before, things were a little more in the gray area, where it's like now it's like if you feel a certain way about something like a current event, then you're automatically a misogynist or a sexist or whatever they want you to be, homophobe, racist, whatever. So you have someone who says, hey, man, go vote. And you're like, what if my vote was for Trump? And they'll tell you, oh, yeah, it's as long as you go and, make sure your voice is heard. It's like, no, you really want me to vote for who you want to vote for.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff, all this, like, oh, this person voted for this person, so they must be like that. All of that is basically bad logic. It's basically, so, like, look, Trump is X, Y, or Z. Trump is a racist. Trump is a fascist. Trump is whatever you want to call him. And I probably wouldn't disagree with whatever you say about him. And I don't support him. But to say, like, oh, if a Trump supporter or a Trump voter is all of those things, like, do you know how many Trump supporters there are? Like, almost, at least a quarter of the population is a Trump supporter. So 1 out of 4 houses you go to, one of those persons is going to be a racist. I mean, I don't really buy that.
No.
Not to say that there's not racism or bad ideologies spreading around the United States, but I mean, people vote for different reasons. Some people vote for economic interests. Some people vote for whatever. They want their taxes lowered. Some people vote for, a lot of times the voter is irrational, I would say, more often than not. So, like, for example, if you go to any gun show or anything like that, or you ask someone who's like a Second Amendment supporter or gun owner who would they like more often than not, I'm pretty sure they'll say they support Trump.
Okay.
But like, Trump has been pretty bad on the Second Amendment. He banned bump stocks. He's actually worse on guns than Obama was, and they think that Obama was like a demon when it came to gun rights, and that Trump is like the savior. So people they don't really know what they're talking about.
Okay.
And
that's actually a good point. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I knew he banned bump stocks, but I didn't know that he was worse on guns than Obama was.
Yeah, Obama actually liberalized some gun ownership policies, like allowing guns to be in national parks and things like that.
Oh,
Nothing got banned while he was president.
Wow, I never knew that. It's all about perception, man.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
all about
on the flip,
perception.
Trump's a lot better towards the media than Obama was. Obama put journalists and whistleblowers in jail.
Which is nuts, huh?
and like, Trump will tell people to shut up in a press conference, but he hasn't really attacked
and that's worse.
The media in that way.
He's shutting down the media at that point.
He's
more shutting
recently,
the public discourse out.
Oh, he's threatening Twitter with and things like that, social media platforms with legal action.
He's talking out of his ass in that regard because he really can't do anything.
Maybe it seems like something that's unenforceable. That he's just talking out of his ass, and that if any court would rule it down, like, you can't do that.
Isn't it kind of how do you feel about that's a question that I'm going to ask a lot. Just how do you feel about X? But like about, like Twitter putting the little disclaimers under his tweets, and like these corporations that are clearly have left-leaning biases and claim to be, no, this is just a platform. Freedom of speech. Yeah. But it's like, from what you guys are banning, it's Tim Pool made this argument that having a rule that misgendering somebody is a bannable offense is clearly left bias, because most likely someone who believes misgendering is calling a boy a girl, not the other way around, or you know what I mean? Like, is going to be a right-wing conservative versus you have somebody who they think misgendering is not addressing somebody by their transgender gender is misgendering somebody. And so that's automatically, just by having this rule, you're a left-leaning corporation and you're kind of silencing right-wing opinion.
Yeah, the argument is that it's censorship.
Right.
It's
censoring only to the right opinion, basically.
I take the side of the social media platforms.
Why is that? Because it's a private corporation and they can block what they want, basically.
Yeah, I think that it's their platform. They have the right to do whatever they want with it, and that if you don't like it, you can kind of just do what you want. I mean, it sucks that they have like this.
Like you don't have to be on Twitter is basically the argument.
Yeah, like Twitter. The way that the First Amendment is written and the way that free speech works is that the government is that you everything in the Bill of Rights and the first 10 amendments of the Constitution is saying the government can't do this. The government can't do that. It's more so limits on them than it is on what private actions can do. So, I mean, if I start a company and then it gets big and it's Twitter, I can do whatever I want with it. I mean, I can say you can only be on this site if your default picture is a Teletubby.
Right.
And if you don't like it, then get off of it.
Right.
It sucks, and I sympathize with people that say, oh, they're violating, they're censoring, is because the internet is more or less controlled by a very small amount of people. Mm-hmm. Like Google, for example, is just enormous, and if they want to hide stuff or make information just go away, it more or less goes away, and that's a little scary. That's a little dangerous, but at the same time, I don't think that they like owe us any kind of. They don't owe us neutrality. Like if the CEO of Twitter wants to be a liberal and hide conservative shit, I mean that's on him.
Okay, fair enough. And I have no really argument for that. I think that's always been the argument against having a problem with it. Is at the end of the day, Twitter is a private corporation, and then if they're
I mean, like them labeling Trump's things as false or whatever, is that political? Does it have like something behind it? Probably, but so what? I mean, he doesn't. If he wants to be more direct, he can hold press conferences. He can put out letters. Like I kind of like that Twitter is like his avenue to speak to people, even though like sometimes he's just like offhand and like at 3 a.m. and like misspelling shit like Kofifi and all this.
Kofifi.
But
it what a classic.
It does put. I mean, I like it. I like that that's there for entertainment or whatever purposes. Twitter is a better news than any kind of TV or written thing right now.
It's probably the fastest way to stay informed on something. Like you get immediate live updates. I mean, people are in this whole Chaz situation.
Oh yeah.
Let's get into that, man.
Okay.
Seattle, the free autonomous zone.
Yeah, Capitol Hill autonomous zone. Right?
Yeah. I think it's either Chaz now or Chop, one of the two. Man, it's crazy out there. But I mean, with that whole thing that's going down, do you think it has the possibility of ending like real ugly, like just cops going in their guns blazing type shit, or
like some Waco shit?
I mean, yeah, possibly. I mean, with people getting shot, and I mean, I think they let those guys end up going to the hospital or whatever.
I knew there was like some kind of like altercation that happened recently. I haven't followed it. I know what happened. Somebody,
a 19-year-old died
inside the Chaz.
Yeah, they didn't really know his name or anything. Like they had like a little news conference with their people there, but then something happened again where someone was shot and not killed, and they ended up taken to a hospital, but they still don't know like his identity or anything. So it's basically a couple of I don't know, disputes, gunfires. I don't know, fire, fucking, I don't know, gunfights? Yeah. A couple gunfights and shit. People getting shot up, and basically when the cops try and get in to help the dude, it's like a mob of people telling him to not come in. I think they finally caved with this last one so he wouldn't die. But I'm not really too.
Oh yeah, and they wanted ambulance, and then the ambulance, or they wanted ambulance, but the ambulance didn't want to go because there's no jurisdiction in there or whatever.
It's some wild shit, basically.
I mean, I think whatever the media is going to report about it is going to be worse than how it actually is. I was really interested in it like the first couple of days when I heard that this was a thing, and so was like one of my friends, and we were just kind of waiting it out to see, more or less what was going on there. Because if you just hear, like, you would think it was like taken over by Che Guevara. If you like read if you read some of the like conservative sites or whatever, even the neutral ones, they're like, oh, this this communistic thing or whatever. And like Trump Trump is like talking about it, like if he's gonna do something or like send troops in there or something. And that's scary. At first I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, cool. They're like, they're self-sufficient. They don't want police to go in there. Like, okay, like let them have their little experiment. Let's see how it goes. If it is like a communistic thing where they're not like really engaging in like trade or whatever, or letting things, letting there be like any kind of like property within it, I don't foresee it lasting super long. But they're just like in Seattle, so I'm sure they can still like go to the store and stuff. So I don't see, I'm sure like the doomsday reports about it are way worse than it actually is.
Yeah, it's usually over embellished in the media. People want clicks, people want the ad revenue, but at the end of the day, it is something that's kind of unprecedented, like in the last decade or two. Yeah, of just people having this little zone set up where it's almost like lawless in a way. And at first, it was kind of like
there's movements that try this kind of thing. I mean, I'm not really sure the scale of Chaz or like how big it is.
Right.
I assume it's like
I think they said
blocks.
6 or 10 blocks.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. I wouldn't mind like checking it out. My buddy lives in the state and he visited it. He's like 2 hours away and he sent me some pictures and stuff.
He went over there?
Yeah.
What did he say it was like?
It seemed like...
Were people cool? I saw people were doing some live music over there, which was cool.
I thought they were bunkered down. I thought that nobody could come in and out. But it's not like that. It's just like anybody.
They're just
can
not
go
letting
in
cops in, right?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, in their mind, it'll be more peaceful without the cops. And in their mind, the cops, more often than not, make things worse. And I'm sympathetic to the argument.
I think there are points to be made to that argument. I am not necessarily someone who's pro police. I'm not pro state empowered like security force. You know what I mean? Especially when it's militarized to the point where it is. I made this point on my last podcast.
Yeah.
We have a surplus of guns that we just sell to the cops, and it's like, why does
the military is just like this like hand me down flow to all their old equipment and stuff to local police departments.
Yeah, and it's like, why do they need army gear? You're supposed to be de-escalating the situation, not bringing a shotgun and a fucking riot helmet. You know what I mean? And bulletproof.
Is this considered Hollandale?
This is considered
West Park, right? But was that like secret? Because like the Hollandale SWAT team stepped down.
I heard that.
Yeah, because the vice mayor is some 22-year-old woman, and she showed support for the protesters of George Floyd and whatnot.
22-year-old is the vice mayor?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, I'm getting into Hollandale politics.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting story. When she was a lot younger, she had tried to speak at City Hall or something like that against police brutality, and they didn't let her. So she had like this chip on her shoulder, and then she ran for vice mayor and won. And so she kind of has like authority over some of the police. And then she showed support of the George Floyd protesters and kneeled with them, as well as like the police chief did.
Yeah.
And then the SWAT team got upset and resigned from the SWAT team. They're still police officers, but they're no longer on the SWAT team. Right. So, I mean, I posted this, and it upset a couple people, and they said that,
What did they get upset about? What did you post, and what did you say?
I just posted that the Hollandale SWAT team resigned, and then...
You didn't post a comment about it or anything?
No.
Okay. Usually you have a little sentence.
Well, there was a comment that said I think what upset them was the comment that said, "That's good. It's a good start, and we don't. Why does Hollandale Beach need a SWAT team?" And that was written by Radley Balco, who's this guy who wrote "The Rise of the Warrior Cop," which is a book about police militarization.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you know him?
I've met him. I don't know him. He's like a famous journalist.
Oh, and he commented on your shit on Facebook?
No. I just copied and pasted what he wrote, and I shared the article.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And so they resigned, and the point is that it's true. Why does Hollandale Beach need a SWAT team? And what people think that when we have something, like it can't be. And this goes for like anything that has to do with government. Like once it exists, it never goes away. And people think, that's always been around. We need that. Why? How dare you cut that? Why is this government program going away? Why was this? Like SWAT teams are relatively a new thing.
When did SWAT teams start in Enlightenment?
They started in the 60s, but they really started in the 80s, and they're a direct response to
Reagan,
the drug war.
The Reagan, the war on drugs, right? Where
that's what that, Nixon, Reagan.
Tanking people's houses.
Yeah, that's what the SWAT teams are for. And they it's not the only thing that they're for, but it's the main thing that they're for. And that's why they need these. I mean, the people that...
So what's the excuse for keeping them now? What is the excuse?
Well, they use this circular logic. They say, like, crime is down because of this.
Okay.
But crime was already trending down before that,
So
they're hopping onto it late and then saying it's because of that.
So they're saying if we get rid of the SWAT team, you're going to see a spike in crimes going up.
Right.
And bank robberies are going to be nuts and shit.
Right. Well, I mean,
it's going to be
even
Dark Knight level Gotham.
Yeah,
when crashes a bus into the bank.
When Scarecrow's releasing the gas.
Chappelle, where is Ja? Everyone's looking for Ja Rule.
Yeah.
No, man. I don't know. That is kind of a weird proposition. I mean, and then you have these people who say, or have an issue with people saying defund the police.
Yeah.
And I don't get why not?
Well, because they think that defund the police means that there's not enough police, or that the police aren't doing their job. Some people actually think that it means the police get paid less, which is a misnomer. That's not what defund the police means.
Do you think that most of the people who hold that opinion are older people, or do you?
No, I wouldn't even give young people that much credit. I think.
Okay.
I think across the board, it's probably just misunderstood.
Is it something that you think was ingrained in us, like through the school system or something? That, hey, cops are good people. Cops are good people, or like through media or TV shows? Like, what is it that gives us this inherent just kind of trust in the police when in reality, when you break it down on a human level, it's people who get paid to lock people up in cages, kidnap people, put them in the back of their car for doing something as innocuous as
what I would say,
selling Lucy's on the street.
Oh man, I remember that Eric Garner thing.
Yeah.
that one was really, really sad for me. The whole like not all cops are bad argument, I think, can be done away with very easily. And it's not like, yes, like I know people that are police officers and like I consider them like family, like I love them. And it's not to say that they're bad people. It's to say that they the type of institution that they're in, the type of occupation that they have calls for certain things. A police officer is law enforcement. Their job is to enforce laws. Are there some bad laws? Yes. Their job is to still enforce them. So, I mean, when they put on their suit, they're probably doing bad things most of the time. Yes. Now, do they do some good things? Sure. That doesn't mean that we have to fund them in this crazy amount. That doesn't mean that we have to give them military toys. That doesn't mean that we have to give them blind authority. That doesn't mean that they should be killing people in the streets.
Right. No, I agree with that sentiment. And, I think when you defund, like you said, it's not just paying officers less or whatever. It's like they didn't always have this much money. You know what I mean? And,
right.
They can survive without getting X amount. What is it, like 8 figures, 9 figures?
But it doesn't even mean paying them less. It just means like their entire system
talking about the department.
Completely bloated. Yeah, I mean, they there's a lot of things that politically can be done, and I'm not really optimistic about any of them because, again, like the police union has this stranglehold on what happens, and then the judges that would have to pass laws, they get voted in by them, and there's this kind of vicious cycle of, like I said, like once something in the government is around, it's kind of ingrained. But I mean, to go over some of those things, I think they need to end qualified immunity, which is that it's harder to sue police when they do some kind of action against you than it is to a normal person because of some law that passed like 100 years ago that's just been around. I think ending the war on drugs would be the number one thing.
Hasn't it ended?
No, not really. I mean, it's still there's still a bunch of illegal drugs. There's still no-knock raids. There's still, there's basically the Bill of Rights doesn't exist because if you get pulled over for a traffic stop, police officer can go, "Oh, it smells like marijuana in your car. Can I look around?" And
they have can you tell them, "Hey, you need a warrant"?
You could say that, but it won't work out that well for you. I mean, they could say, "Oh, my sense of smell is probable cause."
That's so you're basically, I mean,
so the Bill of Rights is
violating
fake,
your right to unlawful search and seizure, right? That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get around that? How do you end the war on drugs?
I think
someone will tell you decriminalize everything. Is that the solution?
There's my strategy or whatever. When I see like everybody posting like things that can be done, especially like that affect the black community and whatnot, I think the best way to minimize police brutality is to minimize like interactions between citizens and police. Okay. So there's a lot of things that can do that. Which for sure, the war on drugs is the biggest one, and they shouldn't be. I think the drugs should be decriminalized, legalized, etc., so that's not even their job. And not only, I mean, that would have like positive influence over a lot of different parts of society. The only reason why those drugs are still illegal in the first place is because there's a lot of groups that stand to gain from them being illegal, which is
big pharma,
pharmaceutical companies, alcohol companies, tobacco companies, prison
pretty
guard
much
unions.
like legal drugs.
Yeah, legal drugs stand to lose by marijuana being illegal, and then the jails, the private prisons, and their workers, the unions.
Legalized slavery, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. So basically, they lose out on their cheap labor.
Yeah.
That's something that Immortal Technique touched on in 2004 on a song called "The Fourth Branch."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is not new shit.
No.
And it's funny that it took the George Floyd tragedy for everyone to hop on their fucking soapbox.
And to start. I mean, it's crazy. Like this stuff is not new, like you said. I mean, I've been talking about a lot of this stuff for a long time, and it seemed like it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and now people are like woke in a good way, and not in like this like weird condescending elitist way.
It's still and not that not that being woke is necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's always good to be informed, right? It just depends on how you share that information with other people, how you talk down to other people, or if you don't. But I do still feel like it is, some people at least are being a little condescending.
Yeah.
And whatever, you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to tell you how the fuck to talk to people. You talk to people however the fuck you want to talk, and you deal with it.
People are mean on the internet, man. People.
Yeah. It's something about the internet for sure that are not anonymous. The fact that you could be anonymous or not really suffer any consequences for telling somebody to suck your dick on the internet.
Yeah.
That definitely adds to some of the viciousness.
You remember Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back?
Yeah.
They like that. They
go
house to house beating little kids' asses.
Cock titty sucker 69? You said our movie was trash. Huh? Yeah. Okay.
You said Jay and Silent Bob were fucking clown shoes.
What a classic fucking movie, dude. The internet doesn't work like that. No one's ever going to find you.
What the fuck is the internet? So right, so that without that threat of Jay and Silent Bob knocking on your door and beating your ass, like people are just outrageously mean, or they say things that they would never say in person.
Right. But back to the whole soapbox thing. Just like where were you all you activists a year ago? You know what I mean? Like
where were they 2 weeks before when the government was engaging in like outright fascism with the lockdowns?
They were following.
They were making fun of the protesters and saying that they were rednecks and this and that, and that Darwin was going to get them.
And you're risking corona for a haircut.
Yeah.
You know, and also, I mean, now people still making fun of those people. Oh, these white people were protesting for a haircut. We're protesting for real shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but before y'all were making fun of them for protesting, period. Doesn't matter what they were protesting about. You were calling them idiots for being out there with the Rona.
Yeah.
But now that you guys have something that people view as more just
it's sad, man.
Protest.
I was what I don't know when was it? It must have been April or May. I was out at the lockdown protests, at the anti-lockdown protests, wearing my like Colin Kaepernick jersey and shit. And then my friends and people like all over my timeline were saying shit about the protest. It's like I had to like keep it a secret that I had been out there because I didn't want it. I didn't want to be called these things. Darwin's gonna get these people again. Like all this super condescending, like armchair, ivory tower, elitist bullshit.
Shout out to that dickhead riding that bike outside, dude. That's fucking Broward County as Broward County gets. He's got gold teeth. I can hear them. No, but go on. So you had to kind of keep this a secret that you were.
Yeah, I'm like keeping it a secret just so that like my to not be called an idiot by a bunch of people that I know and like.
Now, and if you're at a protest or if you're not at a protest, you're
now you're in trouble.
Loser.
If you don't go to the protest.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not doing enough. You didn't post the black box. You didn't get the points.
Oh man, that black box was so funny because the minute I woke up that Tuesday, it was my birthday first of all. So I'm like, shit. Birthday. So now am I racist if I post, hey, it's on my birthday, hi,
Yeah.
Because it was black out there, you couldn't post shit. And then I see all these black squares, and my first thought is, yo.
And then we saw the post saying, take down the black squares.
Yeah, but that was
you're
my
holding
thought.
Up the thing, yeah.
My thought is, wait, isn't this just going to fuck everything up? Like, everyone's just going to see this? Like, this is all I see.
Yeah.
And then, 6-7 hours later, maybe even shorter than that, 2-3 hours later, people were like, hey, you're a fucking dummy. Stop doing it.
Yeah, you're messing up the things that are important that we need to see. Take down the black box.
Yeah, so
and
I
think that there's a lot of this virtue signaling going on.
Signaling, yes.
That is, hey, look at me, I care. Hey, look at me. Like, do I get my points for the week of being woke or being, in support of BLM
or whatever? It's disingenuous. They don't really
care.
It's so that their friends don't label them whatever.
It's the same thing with the voting and getting the
labeled.
sticker, and then talking down on people who didn't vote.
Correct.
Like they're feeling a
Correct.
part of something. They're feeling community, and then whoever isn't is the enemy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you didn't go to the protest? Wait. 2 weeks ago, I was saying if you went to the protest, you're an idiot. Oh, but this is a different protest. Now you have to go to this protest.
Right, yeah, and you know, I had this.
Yeah, fuck logic.
There was basically no one is consistent.
I went to the anti-police brutality protest too. By the way, so I get both points.
Both points. Well, no, you're dumb because you went to the first one, but you're woke because you went to the second one.
Right.
So, but no, there's always this fuck man. I totally lost my train of thought. God damn it.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah. No. The whole thing. When the black box thing happened, I came across this tweet that was shared that was basically like, yo, man, this black box shit is fucking dumb. Y'all are basically making this real protest into some fucking cute social media hashtag that people are going to forget about in a couple of days. And I shared that, and I left it up for like 10, 15 minutes, and more people sharing this black box. And I'm just like, man, if I leave this up, are people going to assume that I'm some kind of racist? So I'm like, fuck it, man. Like 2-3 people saw it. I took it off my story. And then hours later, the post came up. Oh, man, that shit is dumb. Right. And so I was like, man, I knew I was right. Like, it's dumb. It was counterproductive to their whole point, which is to show protests and to share these facts and shit. So basically, your protest is to shut the fuck up. How is that a protest, my guy? It's not a sit-in. Yeah. No one cares that you didn't post on Instagram today. You know what I mean? And then you have the same woke activist that just got on their soapbox 2 weeks ago, going back to the regular content. So it's like, I'm posting 3 selfies, and then here's my activism shares for the day. It's like, did you donate today? Or hey, here's the 5 ways as a white person you could contribute to the... And it's like, yo, you're still posting your little selfies. You know what I mean? Like, you're still doing that.
It's like they hit the quota. Like, all right, I did 10 BLM posts this month, and back to the thought shit.
Yeah, or the whole thing with
back to
the thought shit. No, real talk. Because there was this whole thing with this protester. I forgot her name, man, but she passed away. She was found dead or something. Wow. 19-year-old black girl. No, she was a BLM protester, like really outspoken. Here in Orlando.
I did hear about that.
Winter Park or Tampa, something like that, or up in Central Florida or North Florida, and she was found dead. And then I saw this girl who posted, "I am inconsolable right now about this girl," and then the next day it's back to selfies. Next day it's back to, look at my corset. It's like, first of all, that corset's gonna fuck your organs up, and second of all, weren't you inconsolable yesterday? Like that, you're just straight now. So I hate this. It's like girls who post, "Ooh, my hair's getting long," and it's them like with their ass out.
It's a lot of fake shit on the internet, man. It's a lot of fake.
If it wasn't for this show, if it wasn't for my band, I would not be on social media. I honestly, dude, like
I can't. I'm hooked, man.
They got your ass,
I'm like
bro.
An addict.
See, but this is the thing: you don't drink, you don't eat cheeseburgers.
So I have my.
So you have that. You know what I mean? You're addicted to social media. I'm addicted to cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying? So it's you have one or you have the other, you know. But one thing we didn't touch on, we got to the whole cop shit. Let's talk about how we got there. March, lockdown happens.
Oh man,
as a libertarian, when you hear all these businesses you're not allowed to operate, rumors. I don't know about you, but rumors of the National Guard are in CB Smith Park.
Right.
Rumors that there's going to be a National Guard enforced curfew all around the country. So it's March. You're hearing these things. What are your thoughts?
Man, I think the lockdowns were, and I've said it, like just the biggest scam in like the history of this country. It's almost.
It wasn't even just here though. That's the crazy part.
It's like it's got to be like the biggest scam in the history of the world. I can't reconcile what. It's basically indefensible, and them trying to hide behind the same kind of like elitist bullshit and say that they were using science is ridiculous. I mean, the science was not science. You know, they basically just tried like this random social experiment on us. China did it first, and the U.S. kind of followed suit with the UK and took cover, but it has this enormous amount of negative consequence, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And the things that they did in response with this, with the central bank just printing the money and buying assets and this and that, and it's bad for everything. Like, just we could go in on this. The lockdowns, I couldn't shut up about it. I think I was like Mr. Anti-Lockdown. Like my social media, I made it. I'm usually like a little bit more of a lighter tone, a little like some jokes. I was pissed, and I had to talk about it like all the time, every day, to the point where even I was still talking about it, and people were saying like, "Oh, it's over. Like, you won. Like, things are opening up again." You know, Florida is one of the most opened up states, and there's still like, if you're a bartender right now, you're fucked. You know.
Yeah, and you gotta go to like bartender class. You gotta have like
if you're in the travel industry, in the tourism industry, in a hotel, there's a lot of things in Florida that are still not open, and we're one of the most open states. So like, this country is still closed. It's really egregious. I cannot stress enough the damage that has already been done and that's going to be done from those lockdowns. And I think the police brutality protests are in direct correlation with them. And if there hadn't have been the lockdowns, those things wouldn't have gotten so ugly. There wouldn't have been as much rioting and looting and social unrest, because Slick, study shows when unemployment goes up 1%, 37,000 people die. When unemployment went up by like 30%. So this whole like debate, when we're talking about lockdowns, people are saying, oh, the people against the lockdown are in favor of property over people, or profits over people, or money over people's lives or health. It's not like that. They're to pretend like they're not tied together, to pretend like the economy is not just the collective decisions of everybody is like, it's stupid. It's idiotic. It's ignorant. They're so tied together that there's direct health outcomes come from like unemployment. When someone's out of a job, they have less money for this or that. And on this grand scale like that, like, oh, okay, 30 million people are out of you cannot work. It's not even like it came from like an economic depression or a crash. It was just like, okay, the government didn't allow for employment to be legal.
Right.
It's just,
it made your life.
I'm
illegal,
like almost
basically
baffled like right now. Even in this room talking to you about it, I can't even bring into words the like idiocracy that was. So
that's kind of where I go. Before all this other shit that stemmed from it happened and it's first going on, what are your thoughts? Like, were you thinking, fuck, man, can they do this? Like, can I leave the country? Like, what were some of your more extreme thoughts?
Well, like time? not to say that I was you know, like warmed up to it, or I was, but definitely like when they knew nothing, or when they were pretending like they knew nothing about the virus, it was more like understandable. Oh, okay, you know, they're kind of. I was still super against it. I still thought, wow, that's crazy. Like, they can't do that. But then the more time passed, and the more we learned about this thing, the more we learned that they weren't basing it on any kind of science. I mean, to get back to the original thing, the United States' response to the coronavirus was based on, and again, I'm not denying anything about the virus. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that the virus is fake.
Oh, because people love doing that. If you have any problems with the lockdowns or wearing a mask in public, people are like, "Oh, well, you're a fucking idiot. You don't think the corona is
I'm some
real?"
kind of anti-science dunce or something.
Yeah.
Well, the advice that we're getting is from anti-science dunces, by the way, because the person that wrote this report, and his name is Neil Ferguson. He wrote a report. He's from the Imperial College of London, and in it, he gave a set of responses to the coronavirus, and one of them being, if we do nothing, this will happen. And even in the report, he cites that that's very unlikely to happen. But when he was interviewed by the media everywhere, in newspapers and on TV, he only talked about that one. And that one, that very unlikely response, which is if we do nothing, which I'll get into in a second why that's impossible, that we were never going to do nothing. He says that 500,000 people are going to die in the United Kingdom and 2.2 million people are going to die in the United States. So that is what we used. The United States based all their responses on that as a way to curve that so that 2.2 million people would not die. Now, we're almost in July, and the number, if I remember, is close to 100,000.
Yeah.
That is probably 5,000% less than the number it was projected to be. Right? So in science, when you're 5,000% off on something, it means you're really fucking wrong. It means you're when you're
5,000% off.
Yeah, when your
off.
hypothesis turns out to be 5,000% of incorrect, you need to go back to the drawing board. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, and
carry the zero.
In 2006, the most like recent. So in George Bush, in response to whatever thing happened under him, was it?
It wasn't swine
H1N1 or swine, something like mad cow. I don't know. Under Bush, there was a viral epidemic.
It might have been swine flu.
Yeah, and then so he hired a team of the best scientists in the United States at that time to come up with the proper response to what that kind of thing was or whatever. And in their paper that came out only 14 years before, and there hasn't been much done on this since, it was said that quarantine for all, like social distancing is like the new like PC word for quarantine, because people know quarantine is like, oh shit, things are serious, but social distancing is like a way to make it like packaged as like a nicer, cooler thing. They say in 2006 that quarantine for all is it was not recommended, is not effective, and for sure is not a thing. So and then even in today we have countries like Belarus, South Korea, Sweden that of course did not even close their schools. The United States did. The United States did the most. Like it locked down, and then that's another thing. People say like, oh, but we didn't really lock down. It's like, okay, so we didn't weld doors closed like China, but we definitely locked down. Like there's still businesses to this day that are not allowed to be open. So
yeah,
there's you can't say it was not a lockdown. What do you expect them to do? Have tanks just rolling around the streets, making sure no one leaves their house?
That's what I was hearing was going to happen.
Right. So everything was based on bad science. It was garbage. This guy, he's no longer even holds the position at the college. He resigned because he got caught sneaking out of his house during the lockdown to go fuck his like side girl or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
So this guy's a clown completely. And the United States' response. Yeah, Neil Ferguson, dipshit of the century.
Wow.
The United States' response is based on that. So it's just.
Did they even put out a fucking paper saying, hey, about that guy?
Yeah.
Who got caught leaving his house during the
Well,
lockdown,
that's the thing. Like, the politicians.
That we based our response of.
They don't apologize. They won't admit they're wrong. And then it was this kind of whole, like, this good cop, bad cop with Fauci and Trump, and people were saying, "Oh, but Fauci, he's pro-science, and but Trump, he's against science. He just wants to open up. He only cares about money." It's like, well, okay, Fauci's in Trump's cabinet. He's hired by him. He can fire him whenever he wants. He doesn't disagree with him. Trump is the one enacting the lockdown. Trump is the one telling the governor to lock down. So I don't.
Do you think that the reason that we responded, or at least Trump responded the way he did, was because if he didn't, that he would catch flack for it?
Yeah, well, more so in Fauci's case, but definitely Trump. Yeah, back to people act the way they act based on the institution that they're in, and that institution calls for them to act that certain way. So if you're the advisor on whatever Fauci's position is on epidemics or viral diseases, if you're the expert on that, so if you say, "Oh, okay, we shouldn't lock down," and then 1 million people die, that's your ass. People are going to remember you. People are going to say, "Oh, that guy said we didn't lock down." Now, if you say we have to lock down, we have to do as much as possible. There can't be NFL. There can't be this and that. And then 2 million people die from something else, like poverty, starvation. Their entire life savings going to waste. Whatever.
They don't get blamed for that.
Other diseases that are not allowed to be treated in the hospitals because the hospitals are only on lockdown. He doesn't take the blame, right? So they're going to err on the side of caution, and when that's what they did. They erred so much on the side of caution that what they did was create this boiling point firestorm that now has turned into social unrest in the United States and
that
humongous amounts of unemployment.
So, I mean, you obviously have people out rioting over the past 2 weeks, I want to say. But that obviously stems a little bit, like you said, from the lockdowns. I mean, you have people in their house for over 2 months, and there was no end in sight.
Yeah.
Before this George Floyd shit, there was no end in sight.
What keeps people from, what keeps me from going out and acting on some of my, animalistic instincts against the government or whatever is because I have a lot to lose. I have a good life. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to die. I don't have a suicide mission. Now, if you make my life exponentially worse by taking away my job or taking away my, my ability to provide for my family, et cetera, now, the weighing out the costs and benefits of going out and committing crimes is a lot different. And I think that's what happened on a large scale. And again, back to the more unemployment increases, the more it correlates with social unrest. Well, the more that things are bad, the more bad they can become. When people don't have money or people don't have a thing to do, you know, I gotta work tomorrow. It's Sunday evening. Should I go out and riot? Nah, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Oh, I don't have a job tomorrow? Okay, maybe we'll go out and riot tonight. Right.
And it's not only do I not have a job, there's no like you said, if you're a bartender, I mean, there's no possibility of me getting a job anytime soon. You're someone who made their life. The
lockdowns made people feel hopeless. Despair. You know, this blanket of who knows. And even now, you know, when are they going to start opening this again? When is the government going to allow us to do this again? Who knows? Who
knows? Yeah, for real. I mean, and there's businesses that just inevitably they're just not going to make it.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much things that are closed now or that have opened up again now that probably aren't going to be able to make it. A lot of businesses that close down are not going to come back.
You have a place like New York City where the rent is, I don't even want to imagine what the rent is like, storefront on some fucking busy street in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And you're telling that mom and pop place you can't do business for 3, 4, 5 months?
Well, like, beyond that, New York, rent? So that's a very specific example that's really good because New York, a lot of their business is done with foot traffic. Right. Yeah. So, like, they don't have to spend money in marketing, promoting, whatever, because people walk past them every day.
Yeah.
But now if they don't, now they're fucked. So
you're not even allowed to open, let alone people are not going to fucking be there. Once you do open, I mean, how much less foot traffic do you have? With
no one's allowed to be out in the streets. No one's when they were on lockdown, they had stay-at-home orders. So all these little, like, you know, bodegas and mom and pop shops that in New York are like the real economy.
Or like a pharmacy or whatever.
They're nothing, yeah. Nobody was able to go to them.
That's terrible, man. And New York is still, I mean, I have a cousin who lives there. Like you said, Florida is like one of the more liberal states, and we still have a lot of shit closed.
Right.
So I'm here like, oh, yeah, I can get a haircut. Not thinking my cousin in New York probably can't still get a haircut.
Yeah, the gyms, all that stuff is closed. A lot of stuff in New York is still really closed.
It's just starting to open.
Right.
Like, beaches just started to open down in South Florida. Like,
yeah, and I couldn't say enough bad things about DeSantis. I was like, oh, my God, like, I can't stand this guy. He's the worst. And then I'm thinking, like, when I say that, nobody agrees with me because in their eyes, he's stupid for opening up early. And I'm here thinking, like, I can't believe he did this. Why is he shutting things down? This guy is you know.
So now have you flipped that he's one of the first governors to
No, I still think he's the worst. I just think everybody else is just as bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Or worse than them.
Is there any politician that you look at in a good light?
Yeah, some. I think some.
Rand Paul?
I like Rand Paul. I liked Rand Paul's dad, Ron Paul.
Ron, yep.
He was real like, you know, against
He's a real
the wars. He was, you know, very free market.
Yeah.
I like some of the Democrats once in a while. Sometimes they're right on, like, even
Tulsi Gabbard, right?
Remember I tried to date Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
How'd that work out? Your ex, huh? How's she
my ex. She's right once in a while, even though she's.
Oh, we have a ghost.
Did the thing plug out?
No, it's still. I'm still getting audio. We're good.
All right.
I'm curious.
This little plug was like.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
Got a ghost in here, but
American. I mean, yeah. Generally,
I don't know.
Politicians
I'll trust none of that shit AOC says, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how genuine she is. She doesn't come off as like super bright, but
I just love it. You just say it so casual. She doesn't come off super bright. It's like you basically just called her a dumbass.
I think people rip on her too much. Like there's definitely worse. There's definitely. And
she hasn't gotten there yet, dude. You give her. It's only been a year or two. Give her some time, man. Hillary's had 30, and she's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like she's the worst.
Yeah, she's like level 60, you know, level 99 Skyrim.
Yeah, well, let's not talk
She's
about
got all the armor and shit already.
We're gonna end up in body bags.
Yeah, you're right. We're gonna end up like that dude. Was it
Jeffrey Epstein?
No, I mean him. It was crazy, but. That dude that no one even talks about that just got shot 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
At his mailbox.
Oh, she has an entire list of people that have just been offed.
That Jeffrey Epstein shit was nutty, huh?
I started watching a couple of the episodes. It's
of the documentary. Yeah. I could, and it's just like it's like
that's right here. That's so close, man.
What, his island?
You know, like yeah, and the no, not the island. The his house where in West Palm. Bless you. Where the young now we got Corona.
Oh, it's over.
It's over, folks. The young chicks that he was like grooming from whatever high school it was that was close to him. That's right there in Broward, man, or Palm Beach County.
Know.
Yeah,
I didn't know that shit.
Watch the thing. I didn't finish it either, but get back on it.
It's just like I can only hear so much about pedophilia.
Yeah,
and then also is like you're also like it's information is never a bad thing, but they're also profiting off this shit. I don't know. It it kind of sits wrong with me a little.
So
bit.
apparently he used to pay chicks like $200 to massage him, and then he would like take off his clothes and like try to get further. But it's funny, like that guy's a multi-billionaire, so $200 to him is probably like $1.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he make his money though? Did they ever touch on that? Because no one knows.
A little
no
bit.
fucking idea.
He's like, he's apparently very smart, and he was on Wall Street and whatnot prior.
That's how they all fucking make their money. Those fuckers, fucking brokers. But no, he died super suspicious. He definitely did not kill himself.
I'm gonna go with probably did not kill himself.
Yeah, just the cameras were out, the security guards were asleep, his cellmate was taking a nap.
It's super sketchy. It's funny, man. Like that is the number one conspiracy theory that just everybody agrees with. Like, no, it's not like, oh wow, you think 9/11 was an inside job? Oh wow, you think this and that? Everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Yeah, it's true. I haven't met anybody.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. If you're a Democrat, you're like, oh yeah, he didn't kill himself. He's friends with Trump. If you're a Republican, you're like, oh, he didn't kill himself. He's friends with Hillary.
How did the Clintons get out of that? People asking them questions about it. How did they?
Well, they're still
get
investigating
out of knowing
it,
that.
So
guy?
maybe they didn't get out of it.
Yeah, okay.
They have a lot of power and money.
It's
I
all
doubt
going to
they'll
come
go
out
down.
once they're dead and we can't do dick about
Right.
it. It's not going to be some Bill Cosby situation where we see these guys get their shit in their 80s. You know,
Yeah.
like Bill Clinton, how many years does he really have left? That dude's senile.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
All of them, man. I want to talk about that for a second. That for politicians, like, if it was any other job in the world, almost everybody that we can name that's a politician would be considered unfit for the job. Even like the most simple menial labor job, they'd be like, wait a second, you're how old? You're like Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both almost 80 years old.
Right.
Retirement in these countries is like 65.
So you think we should have a younger president?
It's not to say that I think we should. I think there should not be a president. But
okay, fair.
But that the people that we give all this power and authority to they're old, man.
But look at Trudeau.
How old is he?
He can't be older than 45.
No, there's counterexamples, but I mean, in the United States, it's just all of them are so old. Trump is what, 77, 75?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Trudeau's 48, but I think let's see how old Trump is. He is 74.
74, and Biden is what, 78?
I don't even want to know how old Biden is. How old is Biden? He is 77. Turned 78 November 20th. So
and I see year. Like people calling him senile, and people say he has Alzheimer's and whatnot.
He's old as shit,
and
dude.
They can't prove that.
Would you trust someone who's 77 to fucking do anything?
Right, and nothing against 77-year-old people. Some of them are still really sharp.
They don't listen to podcasts. Fuck them.
Some of them might.
Some hip fucking wearing a Supreme hat.
But I just you wouldn't want them in these positions that are so strenuous, and I mean they travel so much. It's really hard on the body. You ever see like before and after pictures of a president? How they age? Even though Obama dude.
looks
like he went
in 08,
40 years, man.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild. It's a crazy job.
His hair is all white. All these things on his face.
Yeah.
It's
something
rough,
about
man.
that gig, man. It's not.
It's really stressful.
You're not. I think I forgot who said it, but someone just made a point that for you to want that job, there's something wrong with you.
Well, they're probably like sociopaths. I'm like,
yeah. And like you said, maybe not having a president would be ideal, but I mean, okay. So as a libertarian, are you like an anarchical capitalist, or like what are you? There's so many subs. It's like metal subgenres. Well, are you death metal, or are you more like fucking groove metal, dude?
Yeah, I identify as an anarchist.
Okay, so you would rather abolish the government?
Yeah, I don't think there should be a government. I think that the government.
Well, who would build the roads? No. I totally, and I feel like in an ideal world that would exist, but it's just how you can't. I don't know. How do you expect people to just not just lose their shit and just start going off? You know.
Well, I mean,
and then how do you stop also private police forces, like some rich dude just buying a security force and doing what the fuck he wants and no one can fuck with him because he could afford the nastiest security force ever?
Well, it sounds a little bit like the U.S. military.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, okay, so you solve one problem, but you just create another.
I think, and this is where a lot of libertarians get in trouble, is that they're too focused on like selling the idea to people that are like, the uninitiated, that about how things would be. And at the end of the day, not to say that we don't have like tons of research and literature on these types of things. Like I could answer every question that you might be thinking about like, oh, but how would this work? Or how would that work? How would that work? Well, I mean, there's a book on all of it. There's many books on all of it. There's plenty of research. There's examples from different countries of them doing things. There's examples even in this own country of things being done privately, and private doesn't always have to mean like McDonald's Corporation police force. It could mean like, some kind of non-governmental organization. It could mean a community. It could mean a lot of different things. But I think libertarians need to focus more on that. Like anarchism or libertarianism is a negative concept, like meaning it means no to something. It means that the government is bad. And I think that would be more welcoming to a lot of people if we just got them to see that what the government does is wrong. This government is doing things that we consider immoral, is doing things that, if you look at it from a different perspective, it's doing things that are not, economically efficient or smart. If you're a religious person, it's doing things that are not, what Jesus would have done, things like that. And you might be welcoming to more people because if we play this game where I try to like synthesize what my like anarchist utopia would look like, first of all, I don't know. We have an idea. We have, like I said, we have this research-backed things. We have, examples of different private institutions already doing things like that. But I think first and foremost, too many people are accepting of like authority in the first place, or too many people. Like, even when you're going to ask me, like, oh, are you an anarchist? It's kind of like taboo,
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like there's yeah, like I'll say it, and I've said it to some of my students, and I've said it to people a long time, because I'm trying to like, get people to be like, oh, what is he talking about?
Because when people think anarchist, they think Project Mayhem, Fight Club, fucking.
Yeah.
That's not really what it means.
Right, like they think like, okay, that means I want to go like bomb buildings and shit.
Yeah,
and sometimes, but no, I'm kidding.
Just depends on the circumstances,
right.
baby.
Depends on the building. But
Anarchy is, you mean it in a different sense than that crazy.
Yeah, like I think anarchy, meaning no government, should be used as like a negating something, and not as a positive, like prescribing something.
Okay.
And I definitely think that the government should do less, and we should privatize a bunch of things and allow different options to do things. And we can get back on like some of that list of like ways I think that police could be fixed in this country. But back to like anarchism. So morally speaking, people have this assumption that, if you engaged in like some kind of like forceful coercion against me, like you told me right now to give you all my money, or you were going to kill me, or throw me in a cage, a rape cage, people would say that that's wrong. People would say like, oh, JC's on one right now. Like he fucked that. Like he crossed the line. Like he should not be doing that to Faden. And then the government does that on every day on this mass basis, and it's okay. Or like if you went out and killed someone in the street, it'd be, oh, you're a murderer. But like when the government just goes and kills hundreds of thousands of people in Iraq or whatever, oh, it's okay. It's war. Like they just okay. It's okay. It's okay when the government does it. When literally anybody else could be doing the things that they do to the exact analogy, and people would obviously see that there was a problem with it.
Yeah,
and the examples are endless. It's just taxation or warfare or prisons.
It's the way that you paint a situation, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier about perspective. And it's when you paint it that way, when you paint it in on a human level, what it is. When you say, if you don't pay your traffic ticket and you don't have a day in court, we will have a warrant out for you.
Right.
And we're going to come get you. And we're going to put you in a cage where you may or may not be raped. And so what they paint it as is, hey, you didn't pay your fee to the city, so you got to pay the time because you did the crime. And realistically, it's I parked my car in the wrong spot, and you're extorting me for $25 now. Yeah. I didn't pay the $25.
Like, oh, you have a problem with it? Now you're kidnapped.
Correct. And, yeah, when you pay it that way, like, if like you same scenario, I go to your house, tell you, hey man, you owe me $100, you say no, and I kidnap you and put you in a cage where you get molested by some dude named Bubba. And I tell the cops, hey, he owed me $100. He didn't pay. He didn't have.
We could take it even further. Many people will defend the whole taxes thing on the basis of, well, you get services out of it. So, well, let's fix the scenario. I go to your house and I say, hey, give me your $100 because I just brought you this nice kiddie pool, and you don't want to,
right?
Because you didn't ask for a kiddie pool,
right?
Then I'm still, all right, well, I'm going to shake you down, and if you don't want to come with me, you're going to go to the rape cage, and I'm going to kidnap you. But it gets even worse than that. It's, hey, give me your $100. I just used it to kill some people in Iraq.
Right.
Oh, you don't. But I gave you the service. You don't want it?
Yeah.
All right, you're coming with me. You're going to the rape cage.
Correct. Yeah, and that's on a human level. That's what you're doing. You're telling someone, "Hey, you didn't play by our rules, so we're going to do all this
it might
crazy
sound
shit
cynical,
to you."
but I mean, we're breaking it down to the ridiculous, and that's what government does on this daily basis, to the minute basis, to the second basis, every day of every year. It's doing it. There's the gun in the room, and it's controlling the people this way, in this doing this awful kind of like coerceful action.
That's why I kind of this whole romanticized idea I had of the military growing up has kind of faded away as I got older. When I was a kid, anytime I saw someone in uniform, or when I was working, as an 18 or 19-year-old, and I saw someone in uniform, I would always say, "Oh man, thank you for your service," this and that, or say hi to police officers and this, that, and the third, because I thought it was kind of like a brave thing for them to do, and not necessarily that it's not brave to sign up for the military, but in more ways, I just kind of feel bad for them now because they got brainwashed more than likely into signing from their local recruiter. And then also, you're doing the devil's work in a weird way. Not like literally, but like literally, I mean, not literally, but literally. Literally what we do is some foul shit. We drone bomb Yemen and kill American citizens overseas. Because their dad may or may not have done some terrorist shit back in the day under Obama's regime, and then you have Trump's regime doing the same shit, following suit.
I cannot fathom why so many people are voluntarily willing to be part of that.
Yeah, and that
I really like, and I got called a pussy for, somebody asked me, "Oh, if you got called to serve the country, would you?"
No.
Well, let's wait for that bike to pass by.
There he goes, folks. Broward boy.
And my response to them was, no, probably not. I'd defect. I'd run away, or I'd go to another country, or I would just like hide or something, or I just wouldn't go. And so then he started kind of alluding to me being a pussy, and I said, well, Muhammad Ali agreed with me. Is Muhammad Ali the greatest heavyweight champion boxer in the history of the sport a pussy? I mean,
if he was logically consistent, he would have to say yes. But what did he say?
Yeah, right. I mean, would you tell Muhammad Ali he was a pussy if he was still alive?
Right.
So,
and that's the thing, is that people back in the day held that belief, and that's one thing that I've had to learn from people who were around in that time, is that Muhammad Ali wasn't liked back in the day. Muhammad Ali was basically as polarizing as Colin Kaepernick is today, but to a whole nother level. Draft dodgers were seen as these fucking pieces of shit back in the day.
No, I mean, he was an outward Muslim.
Unpatriotic.
Yeah.
He was a black dude in the 60s basically saying, I'm not going to go fight for your country when y'all not even fighting for me over here. And that today, that's a respectable stance.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he was looked at like probably that dude looks at you like, oh, he's a pussy. Who the fuck does he think he is? He wouldn't fight for his country. When in reality, everyone agrees that Vietnam War was bullshit.
Yeah, so why would it be right for him to go kill strangers?
And it's funny, all the politicians that agreed for the Iraq War.
Yeah, for some war that we shouldn't have even been in the first place.
Correct. And then we've already had plenty of politicians. Even Trump has said, yeah, Bush fucked up in 2003 with that Iraq War. Even McCain, hey, I signed off on it. And yeah, you know what? That probably wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
And these people don't get voted out. And these people don't face any consequences for something that murdered. I mean, how many civilians were killed overseas for something they agree? And it's still going on, really. But something that they agree was a fuck up. I mean, I don't get it, man. Like they suffer
no repercussion. There is no
repercussion.
No skin in the game whatsoever.
Exactly. They get to play with other people's money. They get to play with other people's lives, and they don't get voted out because the people are too busy voting red or blue.
Right. And that's another thing. Like back to the whole anarchy thing. Like, okay, so maybe things might be dangerous if there wasn't a government, but having a government is dangerous. Allowing
not to us though, and I think that's why people don't like that whole anarchy thing because they're too comfortable.
But, okay, so let's take any random person that says fuck Trump or whatever. They say Trump is a fascist, Trump is deranged, Trump is, off the hinges.
Yeah.
Okay, so you support a system that allows someone like that to gain power because they won a popularity contest, and then now they have the capability of using nuclear weapons that could destroy the entire world. I mean, that's dangerous, man. If there was no government, nobody would ever be able to monopolize that much money together to just have trillions of dollars of weapons that can destroy the entire planet. Like Jeff Bezos is the richest guy on Earth. That guy doesn't have a nuclear weapon.
Right. Right.
And if why would he?
Only because he doesn't want to.
Only governments do that kind of shit.
How much does a nuke cost, really?
But why would he have a nuke?
But why not? He's Jeff Bezos.
No.
Because Amazon rocks, dude. No. Honest, I mean, you have a good point. People love to paint these billionaires off as these evil people who don't like to share their wealth, but they're not making nukes with their money.
Conflict resolution
doing good stuff
is way better and way cheaper and more efficient. Like someone who's like hyper capitalistic or whatever, or business minded, is not going to want to fight over everything. That costs them extra money. It's destructive. They're not going to want to blow up their enemy. They're going to just want to outcompete them.
Where do you see? Do you think that Trump being elected kind of flipped this whole presidency thing on its head, like how people campaign, how people get their message out on Twitter and stuff? Like, no president has ever had this kind of like direct platform just to speak his mind like he does. Do you think presidents are going to keep doing that down the line, or keep campaigning the way he did, which was like basically just aggressive, dirty as fuck, shit talking people?
So my analysis of what Trump did to win the 2016 election is that he was basically like engaging in like high level performance art, because we take this like New York City slicker businessman who was in the public's eye for 20-30 years. You know, he was rarely accused of this or that he's accused of today, and he was fighting the Clintons in the 90s for them being anti-LGBTQ. Was
he really?
Yeah, he was definitely pro-gay marriage in the 90s, and the Clintons were not.
Oh, wow.
And he was fighting against them, and he was funneling a lot of money into these causes. So then he's running for president, and what does he do? He becomes this racist. All he talks about is China. All he talks about is Mexico. He talks about the wall.
So you think that was all strategic?
I think that Trump is, in a way, like, he shows the American people a mirror, you know, and all the ugliness that he is the worst parts of the American people. Like, so xenophobia, like the fear of foreign people, is the most common trait, the most bipartisan trait. So Democrats and Republicans are both extremely xenophobic. So if you tell, you know, and they package it in different ways. So like Bernie Sanders was very against open borders because he said that's a way of people paying low wages to let in migrants, you know, and Republicans are very against the border because they say that they're taking our jobs or that they're watering down the culture or whatever, some kind of bullshit like that.
Right.
But overwhelmingly, American voters don't like foreigners. And it doesn't really matter what country it's from. It could be Haiti, it could be Cuba, it could be Mexico, it could be China.
There's usually some foreigner
so if you zero in on that, like. Right? So he zeroed in on that. He spent way less than Hillary Clinton on the election and was talked about in the news cycle way more often because he was always just saying something that was going to gather attention. Yeah. So I do think he's a little bit smarter than a lot of people give him credit for. I don't think he's like playing this 4D chess and that everything he does is a plan. I don't give him that much credit. But in the election, him being like a populist and like kind of using Twitter and eating, you know, taking pictures of him eating fast food, all this kind of thing where he made himself seem like he was like one of us to the American redneck, I think that was strategic. And we see that a lot in politics. Like, for example, George Bush beat John Kerry, Al Gore, because he ran as the candidate that you'd want to have a beer with. Right, so George Bush came off as way cooler than Al Gore. Al Gore's boring; he's a stiff.
Wow, George Bush came off as cool, huh?
George Bush came off as cool, right?
Wow.
And if you look up,
too young,
right?
Too young then.
If you look up in debates, so George Bush used to do this like redneck cowboy thing where he would like slur his words or mess up things. And he would say nuclear instead of nuclear. What's that thing? Well, I don't remember, but he was like famous for making these little gaffes and
like these little he's fooled me once, shame on me.
That's it.
Fool me twice, you can't fool me again.
Right, and and he became, you know, he was known for going, you know, bringing up Jesus in his speeches more often than anybody and whatnot. But if you look up back in the days, like in the early 90s, he was running for governor of Texas. There's YouTube videos of him debating. This guy was like polished, like slick, you know, like an attorney. Like he didn't have that. He had a Southern accent, but it wasn't as dramatic. It wasn't so heavy.
Okay.
Right. He spoke way more eloquently. He was sharp, you know. And if you look up Trump when he was younger, talking about real estate, it's the same thing. Right now he's just this like bull in a china shop. And I think what he's doing is basically part of it. I think is that he's older and he doesn't care as much. Like like an old guy, if you ask them their opinion on anything, they just kind of fire off.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened to him once he was already in, because he has no opposition. Like he doesn't really have to be sharp for anything.
He's in for 4 years, whether you fuck with him or not, basically. Right.
So I think you'll see that be a little bit different, or maybe he'll just double down on it when he has to debate Biden or whoever.
He always doubles down. That's one thing I've always noticed. Every time you think, okay, maybe he realized he went too far, he's like, no, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. He always doubles down, and I kind of love him for it.
Yeah.
Because he'll say the craziest shit, and the next day he's like, no, that's what I said. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
I've yet to hear him retract shit.
No, because he doesn't. Well, I mean, yes and no. Like he signed this little thing that's considered police reform. That's going to create a database.
I'm saying like retract the statement.
What I'm saying, he bends. People think that he's just like this indomitable figure that won't do anything against to appease the other side. But I don't necessarily think that. Like I do think he's scary, and I do think he's engaged in a lot of like fascistic actions and whatnot.
That speech where he was talking about bringing in the military.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like it's horrible.
It's
horrible shit, right? But Trump. So, but again, I think he's acting. I think it's his way of he knows his crowd, right? So I think he's kind of like pretending to be a redneck, right? Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand how a redneck thinks that a real estate mogul from New York City is one of them, but that's for them to,
because they're dumb, and he knows that they're dumb. He knows that they've been fooled by it, and it goes. So back to your question about, is that the model? I see people copy it. I see like DeSantis copies it. DeSantis saying this thing about migrant workers or Latino workers are the ones causing the coronavirus spike. That's him, I think, doing his little Donald Trump imitation.
He said that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like recently he said that the reason why the cases are going up is because of immigrant Latino like basically he said like tomato pickers are the reason why the Florida has a lot of cases.
Wow. Right. That's crazy.
And I think that's him speaking to the base. I think that's him doing his little, he's like a wannabe Donald Trump.
Blowing type
yeah.
Thing. Do you think there's any chance that Biden beats Trump in 2020 later this year?
Yeah, I do think there's a chance. Yeah.
Are you shitting
I wouldn't
me?
bet on it, but I think there's a chance. Sure.
I remember I thought there was no chance Trump would win against him. It was like the ultimate underdog story, and then he did it, and it blew my mind. And I kind of feel the same way about Trump. Like I feel like there's no way they're gonna vote in Biden. Like people don't like change already.
If I had to bet, I would bet a lot of money that Trump would win. Incumbents almost always win. They have the entire first 4 years to campaign. They have more name recognition.
Yeah.
There are things that Biden can do to win.
If he brings on, I heard he was going to bring on that fucking broad.
Kamala Harris?
Yes. If he brings that chick on as VP and he wins, I usually don't say, we are fucked.
Well, the thing with the Biden VP pick is very interesting, because if he does win, the VP is going to be the president. Because he's obviously
he's going to be declared not
to continue.
fit.
He's obviously unfit to be the president for 8 years. He might be able to be the president for 4 years, but he cannot be the president for 8 years.
And you don't think he'll get vote?
You said he was 77.
He's 77. Yeah.
Right. There cannot be an 86-year-old
How old was Bernie?
president. There cannot be 85-year-old president.
How old is Bernie?
I don't know, but
then Bernie bros were serious, and I think he's in his 80s. He's like 82.
Bernie had a smaller chance than Biden, I'd say, ever.
He had a bigger chance in 16. Do you think that? Do you believe that hype that people say if they had put up Bernie in 2016, he would have beat Trump?
No.
He's 78 right now, Bernie.
Bernie Sanders 78? Yeah.
78. You don't think he would have beat Trump?
I generally don't think that who the person picks as a vice president is as important as people make it out to be.
No, I'm saying, do you think Bernie would have beat Trump back?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
He couldn't even beat Hillary.
I think a lot of those, but he got played.
But he bent over like he wanted to.
He did accepted it. He did bent over.
He could have made us think about it at the DNC. He's a criminal.
Paid off. He had to have gotten paid off.
This fucking scammer.
For sure. Because he like you say, he bent over for it. But I feel like
why didn't he make us think about anything either time? It's the same thing happened to him both times. That the DNC just colluded to not let him be the thing.
And then I read into it.
I don't think he was the worst person.
Everything sounds great on the surface. Like, oh, free healthcare, free college, free this, free that. It sounds fantastic. And then you read into it, you're like, 90% tax? No.
Right.
No.
I think who else was running? Bernie was not my last place choice. I think the idea of a presidency with him or Elizabeth Warren in charge would be really scary.
Elizabeth Warren, oh my God. When she dropped out, I was like, thank God, bro. Because I really thought she could have won.
Oh my God, the way the stock markets responded to those two was hilarious. Like anytime that they did well, it was bad. It was depressing. And then when he dropped out, I was like, skyrocketing stock markets.
Fuck, man, that would have been crazy. But yeah, he was thinking about picking up Kamala Harris. And if the idea of her becoming the fucking president.
She's a cop. She
was a prosecutor, was she not?
Yeah, and that's why I like Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard like ended her, like wrecked her.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, saying phenomenal. Like, your policies directly put a lot of minorities in prison,
in jail. Yeah, for these drug laws that are now legal.
He could pick Michelle Obama.
He's not going to do that.
I don't think she wants to, but I think if he did that, he might win.
Can't he pick Barack?
No,
that'd be lit. Like, I'm not like just get that man back in there, dude. They're all shit. You might as well have a dude that speaks good. You know what I mean? Like something about an Obama speech, man. It just hit right.
It's almost surreal that they ended up with Biden. Like he was like the horse to pick in the beginning, and then everyone was like, "Oh shit, he really sucks." And then just
he ended up with
the DNC was like, "No, back to Biden," and then
because they had no one else, dude. They had no one else. I mean, Warren drops out, Gabbard drops out.
They had people. I don't mean they had too many people at first, so nobody could really get that oomph. They didn't back up Yang. They didn't back up.
What did you think about Yang? I'm sure you think that fucking whole.
I would have rather had him than
what is it?
Trump.
Universal income. I bet you think that shit's super silly, huh?
I think a universal basic income in exchange for the current system of benefits and welfare is not a terrible idea. But I think just on top of it, it's absolutely insane. I think.
Does it stack? Who has priority here?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Like when he came out with that, I was like, oh, cool. Like that's actually like a libertarian thing. The basic income
to give everyone money, wouldn't that be handing an incredible amount of power to the federal government?
Like the idea of it was a way to make the government run more efficiently. It was a way to save money in the long term. Instead of giving out benefits, it was a more direct thing. Like, oh, instead of having to fill out an unemployment here, we're just going to give you money.
Doesn't that inflate the value of currency though?
Like
let's say, like I heard a lot of people saying, hey, instead of giving out these Shake Shacks $10 million, like how much money did they end up giving out to corporations? Let's call it $10 billion, right?
The Federal Reserve adding money to the money supply definitely inflates the currency.
Yeah.
So it means our purchasing power goes down.
Right. So that's
but it's not the same thing as them just giving out. They'd be giving out, in theory, I'm throwing up quotation marks, tax dollars. So it'd be kind of like cycling back the money towards us, but
because they already took it.
That's a problem with the way that the central bank is set up and whatnot. And they're able to finance things like wars that are so expensive that we don't feel. Like these things costing in the trillions of dollars. If we still had like a hard money, like the currency used to be tied to gold and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to do something, they'd have to ask us kind of like, hey guys, do you want to go to war? You're going to have to raise your taxes. And people would be like, fuck war. Now they just kind of do it behind our backs without anybody asking because they can just finance everything by borrowing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this has.
And that's one of the hidden. That's one of the problems that we don't really feel as much is that the government engages in activity that would have caused us to be poor.
Who was the first?
Had there not been a bank that's just financing it.
But who was the first president to start doing that shit?
I believe it was around Woodrow Wilson in like 1913 or 19. Yeah.
So that's like special ops type shit, the shit that you can't tell the U.S. population about.
No, it's not that it's secret. They tell us it's open market operations. It's just that they have a financier. They have a central bank that just buys government assets.
Everything that happened in Syria and shit like that never hit Congress. Like we never asked Congress, hey, we got to declare war, but somehow we ended up over there. Like how does that work?
They use legal loopholes. Part of it is that none of the other parties won't raise a stink about President Obama or President Trump doing this or that illegally because then they won't be able to do it when they are in power. So they're kind of just like all in like cahoots,
That's the thing is about the system in general. You have they want you to think it's red against blue. Really,
right?
They both benefit from crazy shit.
Right. It's like rap beef, man. You're like, I want to talk about this with Tekashi for a second. Is that when he calls out rappers, I'm sure they're really happy because then they get a bunch of plays.
Okay.
So they make money off of him like fucking with them on the internet.
Right.
And I think that applies a little bit to the government, that they both benefit from. Like I don't think Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi have this beef that they make it out to be.
Sometimes they're buddy. That's the weird thing.
Right.
I think at least behind closed doors. Like, I've heard talks about them in meetings.
Definitely the Bushes and the Clintons were friends.
Well, yeah. I don't see how you couldn't be. You're so deep in the political game. I mean,
yeah, like they have like some deep gang warfare shit. Like they're bred. They have like a brotherhood.
Someone laid it out to me in a funny way where if Hillary Clinton had won the presidency, we would have had Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, and then a Clinton again. So literally like almost 2 decades of the United States would have been run by Bush and Clinton family.
Yeah.
If Trump didn't win, we were literally Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, back to Clinton, and then I mean who would have come out? I mean Biden, I guess, but like Michelle Obama has a good chance of running. Maybe
they could have ran Hillary's daughter.
It's
like an oligarchy.
That little girl never win. I'm sorry, man. She's such a dunce. Hillary Clinton's daughter is
Chelsea
so dumb.
Clinton? What's her name, right?
Steph, I don't know. Who cares, man? Like that. I mean, when your dad is going on a plane called the Lolita Express.
Oh man.
I mean, there's no way you don't get dragged. Like if she wants to get dragged, she'll get into politics. But if she wants to be able to sleep at night, she'll stay out of it, dude. Because could you imagine how they're gonna drag her? I mean, they got all the shit on her mom and her dad. Like, Trump brought Bill's rape accusers to like one of the debates against Hillary. Like,
I liked that.
That was phenomenal. That was 4D chess. That was some shit.
Yeah, and he put them in the front row, and they were just there.
Was fucking great.
Yeah, I wrote about that in the 2016 election. That a lot of people were voting for Hillary Clinton or saying they were going to because she was a woman, and that they thought it was time for America to have a woman president.
Not this one. Come on now.
Right. I mean,
I'd easily vote for Tulsi Gabbard.
It's a woman that made her career off of like she was publicly cheated on. She backed up her rapist husband. I mean, that would, to me, that would put the cause of feminism back 50 something years. That's and people are like, she's a woman, so I want to vote for her. I mean, what you can't vote for a
calling black people super predators in '96.
Yeah. I think she would have been really bad for the cause. I mean, I think Hillary Clinton was worse than Donald Trump on paper in pretty much everything, and that's also part of the reason why she lost. Beyond her being just extremely unlikable and one of the worst candidates ever, Biden did better than her in a lot of states in the primaries than she did, and he's basically not even coherent.
Yeah, and I think it's like pretty much if you read into it even at all, you come away with the opinion that Hillary Clinton is not a nice person.
I think she's just an awful person, and the whole like Russian collusion thing. I bring this up a lot. And remember that was all the Democrats talked about for like the first 4 years of his presidency.
That's it.
Almost. It
was a fucking witch hunt.
To me, I didn't. So when they started saying that the Russians hacked the election, at first you think like, oh, like they broke the ballot boxes to say Trump or something, and then you find out
ads.
all they did was that they like swayed public opinion by like giving out facts about Hillary Clinton. I mean, so to me, and then we hear that they hacked the election this time around in favor of Bernie, and I think it made perfect sense. Hillary was actively talking about engaging in war with Russia during the 2016 election, and Trump was saying that he was friends with Putin or that he was more friendly towards them, and he came off as like a dove compared to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was like this complete neoconservative war hawk.
Yeah, real weird that she was a Democrat. It sounded like some
and Trump
2000s.
sounded like he wanted to be better on foreign policy and close some of the things, and he's been okay on that in the sense that our relationship, in Iran, he had a little bit of a fumble there that was bad, but with North Korea, it's a lot better. He seems to be, minimizing some troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, if you're Russia, like, do you want the guy to win who seems okay with you, or do you want the lady to win who says she's going to blow you up? To me, it seemed like it made total sense. The collusion, the whole Russian thing.
Yeah, and
why is that the conspiracy theory? Like, of course, yeah, like we don't like when people meddle in our elections, even though we do it all the time to other countries, or just flat out install who we want to be their leader.
Right. That's what I was going to say is we're such hypocrites because we openly interfere in other people's lives. We went to Syria and removed their leader, and like now Syria's a failed state. There's slave trade. Oh, was it Libya?
The same thing in Iraq. Yeah,
I'm thinking about Libya. I'm sorry about he kind of looked like an evil Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
Yeah, real evil Carlos Santana looking dude. Gaddafi, that was his name. They sodomized that dude with a knife in the street, and that happened because we were there. And like you think, oh, we got rid of the dictator, and like, look, man, I'm not here telling you that dictators are good, but you can't tell me that Libya was better off after it became a failed state than it was after.
We did the same thing in Iran. We just do that all the time. In Afghanistan, and they're fighting.
We were trying to do it to
fighting
Vietnam.
themselves in Afghanistan because the whole fucking thing is all messed up.
And a lot of so many of the conflicts that I hear about, or so many of the terroristic attacks that I hear about, it's always like, we trained the motherfucker.
Yeah, they're financing both sides of the war. They're fighting against weapons that they put in the hands of those people.
It's literally some shit out of like a James Bond movie. Like some shit that you would hear about in an action movie. It's like the government is funding the terrorism so that they can go and fight the terrorism and say that they're doing something. It's like, wait. That sounds like who wrote this?
I mean, that is the most dangerous thing, and that's why, like, when people say like that anarchism would be bad, I think that it's kind of just conjecture compared to what we see on a daily basis. Is just 500,000 people died in Iraq in the past 20 years because of U.S. forces.
500,000?
Yeah.
Fuck. And the sad part is that Trump was really like the only president, at least in my lifetime, where he wasn't directly owing anybody any favors, to my knowledge, because he was self-funded in a way. He definitely got donations, but I'm talking about like not some Goldman Sachs type thing.
But he wasn't like a very
he wasn't
backed candidate. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, he makes more money as whatever he was doing before than he does as president.
Yeah,
which is scary though. It's like, why would you want to be president?
Exactly. It comes back to what we were talking about earlier, where if you really want to do that, there's got to be something wrong. You got to be sociopath or kind of weird. But basically, what I was fuck, man.
Yeah, like the get the money out of politics people should be happy with him.
Right. Yeah, that was my point. Is that he was kind of like the hope, like, he doesn't owe anybody. Like, maybe he could really switch it up. Maybe he could really make a difference. And like immediately you could tell he was falling right in line. He didn't do shit that he promised on his campaign trail. He went immediately into bombing Yemen and these foreign countries for no reason. And then he reinstated the Patriot Act recently. Like, he's just falling in line like the rest of them, dude. And I can't see another candidate coming up without that kind of backing anytime soon. I just don't see it happening unless Jeff Bezos decides he wants to abandon Amazon and become the president of the United States.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, what Trump did that is also kind of concerning is that he changed the landscape of the Republican Party big time. So now, I mean, people tried to put Republicans in boxes, like saying like, okay, so there's like the big business types, or there's like the constitutional, old school liberty types, and there's, the war hawk types, like the Bush era neoconservative types,
McCain.
And whatnot. Yeah, like that McCain style. When Trump kind of just puts all of that on its side, right? He's not a liberty constitutionalist. He's not necessarily this pro-free market guy. He engages in tariffs and things like that. He's not. It's really hard to tell what his ideology is besides, nationalism, populism. Speaking down to the regular guy, and that kind of blows it all up as that. I don't think that there is like a proper identity for what. I mean, a lot of this weird baggage of the alt-right came in with it too, and that kind of thing, like this culture war, thing.
Still going down a little bit to this day, really.
Yeah, and I think his son will probably run for president.
Byron?
No, not the little one.
Oh, Donnie Jr.?
Eric or
Eric Trump?
Yeah, I think the one
that looks like him.
Not the blonde one, the one with the slick back black hair, or the blonde one. Yeah, it seems like that.
Really.
That's the next play. I mean, because the Republicans don't have anybody outside of that whole like Trump bubble that is like their next shining star.
It's really sad, man.
And there's definitely a void with the Democrats because, look who they ended up with.
Void.
They had 20 people running, and then they ended up with Biden. So.
I feel like you just aged me 11 years and get me in that motherfucker, and I got it in the bag, dude. I got it. Just make me 35 and I'll figure this shit out. You know, it really seems that way. It really seems like anybody could become president in a weird way. It's a weird time to be in politics for sure. And I mean, it's sad for the Republicans, like you said, because in 2012, look at the candidates they had. They had someone like Ron Paul saying real shit on the campaign trail, and he drops out. And Rand doesn't seem like he wants anything to do with it. And it's like, really, who else do we have? Like the Libertarian candidate, Johnson, that guy's a fucking idiot. Like, he's funny.
Gary Johnson.
He's funny, dude. He's a funny guy. You know, he's a likable guy, but he's a fucking idiot. And, like, he's a bad representation of the Libertarian Party. And you can't, how do you have Bill Ward, whatever, Bill, whatever.
Weld, yeah.
Bill Weld. What's it, Bill Ward? Bill Weld on the ticket. Like, that's one of the worst fucking neoconservative war hawks you had, because he decides to say he's a libertarian. You put him on the ticket. Like, the Libertarian Party has no morals.
The Libertarian Party is not good at vetting people or putting out someone who's representative of libertarian
values. Yeah.
I mean, the woman they have this year, Jorgensen, seems to be on point on almost everything.
I gave up,
but she's not going to win. She's not right. She might get 2%.
Maybe. I mean, that's the thing, is that Johnson got close to 5, didn't he?
I think he broke the record for third parties.
That's what I'm saying.
Like third or
that year was the perfect storm for the Libertarian Party, and they put up fucking Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. Like, how incompetent and inept could you be? Like, I don't get it, man. But when we look at to where we're at today, businesses still aren't opening. We got riots all around the country. Where is the end in sight? Where is the silver lining? I mean, everyone's waiting for 2021, but who's to say 2021 is not going to be just as bad or worse?
Well, I mean, to piggyback off that, we just talked about politicians for like the past, 20 minutes. I think the shining...
Longer than that.
the light at the end of the tunnel is that at the end of the day, politicians don't change your life that much, and we shouldn't be placing so much importance on them. Like, whether or not had Romney been the president, and this would have been his 8th year, or had Obama finished up his term, or has Trump the president, I don't think it matters that much on the individual level, because of the things that you said, that whoever would have gotten in there would have kind of, this power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely thing, is that, Trump seemed a lot better as a candidate than he was as a president, and Obama definitely seemed a lot better as a candidate than he was as a president.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to diminish some of the bad things that they do, because you could say, oh, had Trump not been a president, maybe life would be a lot better for immigration in the country, and so on and so forth. But it's hard to say, because, like we said, that the choice is always like bad or worse, or evil or more evil. And I appreciate that you are not willing to throw your hand in that, but you could go months and months without paying attention to the news at all, and unless it's this this bullshit where they're just like not even letting you work, or this lockdown. Before that, it kind of worked like, okay, well, whoever the president is doesn't really matter. It comes like the election cycle comes like a hurricane, with or without your input, and it passes.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. I think that people should not partake in elections so seriously, and give so much of their like well-used time for things like that. They have this, we only have 24 hours a day, and almost half of those are sleeping, and then some of them are like eating and shitting and fucking and whatever else you have going on, and then you have a little bit left that you could do something good in the world, and you're going to focus it on some politician and like trying to get people to vote for them, and then them changing things. It just seems like such an uphill battle that I think most people's time would be much better off used adding something to the world, instead of helping politicians kind of just take from it.
I think that's a solid point. I think the only thing that I would kind of just raise a question of is, like, if everyone really just took a step back and stopped caring, what would stop these politicians from just passing whatever bill they want without any kind of public backlash or whatever from it?
I think it's more or less like that now, that small interest groups have a lot of power in passing things and whatnot, and the large population doesn't, because there's a bunch of people that agree and there's a bunch of people that disagree. They cancel each other out, and then the little small group that really cares is the one that chooses things.
And they pay for it, basically. They lobby for their shit, and then they get it passed that way.
Like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, is like this super powerful lobby that can that makes it these laws. You know, I talked about this with my attorney a little bit about how, you know, back to the police thing in Atlanta with Rayshard Brooks.
Well, let's talk about it. We haven't really touched on it, man. There's so much shit going on.
So he says that I was always skeptical of the body cameras on the police. I thought that they have the ability to just be kind of a wash, and I thought that it was just going to be a waste because if they were going to do anything really egregious, they would just turn them off anyways.
Yeah.
On the other side of that is that what he was explaining to me was that they take away the discretion from the officer, and that when an officer would like to be more lenient, now they can't because they're being watched. So the higher ups definitely don't want them to be more lenient. Like the people that they answer to, they want them to err on the side of ticketing and arresting. And you know the cops go to they have to go to court. They get more time like that. So what he was saying is that maybe if the body cam wasn't watching them, they might have let that guy go home. But because they're being watched all the time, they have to err on the side of extra hard ass, because that's what their superiors want them to do.
Do you really believe that though?
Yeah, I think so.
You really believe they would have let that guy go if they didn't
those particular cops? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe the first guy that was there, that seemed a little bit softer, nicer on the topic. The second guy that came is the guy that shot him, right?
Well, honestly, man, I find those videos kind of hard to watch. I did watch it, but I didn't watch like the whole 5-minute build-up. I just watched the clip where he chases him and he points the taser back and then he gets shot. So I didn't see the build-up, but I heard that it was kind of civil and fine, and they had to do the sobriety test. And it kind of
went from like 0 to 60. Yeah, it was
when they tried to arrest him is kind of when he put up the fight, right? They tried to put the cuffs on him. So I think it's easy to say, you know, the first officer was doing everything cool and everything was peachy, but it's like, well, the guy didn't know he was getting arrested yet. Maybe if you tell him he's getting arrested from the get, it might not have gone so cool at the beginning. It might have jumped from the beginning. But I don't know, man. I see both points against and for body cams. I think you're right. I think there's definitely certain circumstances where a cop finds somebody with a nickel bag on him. Maybe he lets him go, but now he's on camera.
Yeah, exactly. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Yeah, there's unintended consequence of it that is negative.
For sure, because you let that guy go, and then your boss, you get to let a guy go with a Schedule 1 illegal substance in his car.
Yeah.
And you just let him drive away. Well, you're fired now, or whatever. So I definitely see that's definitely a scenario. But to equate that scenario to that specific incident, I think is a little bit of a stretch. But I definitely see how that could be a thing. It's like if a teacher had the principal in the office at all times or in their classroom at all times. I mean, they might not let that little kid crack a joke, you know what I'm saying, and that has the whole class laughing.
Right,
they might tell that kid to shut up.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. I mean, it takes away the discretion. It takes away the humility from the officer.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't. Instead of them being able to have a little bit more of their own judgment, they gotta be like more by the book. And like I said before, the laws are bad. The by the book is bad. So we don't really want them to be more by the book.
Do you really think that down the line the police force could be changed? Because, like you said, once we give the government, they don't give it back. You know what I mean? Once we give them that SWAT team, once we give them that militarization, they're really hesitant to give any of that shit back. So how do we take power back from the police?
They need to end qualified immunity, meaning that they should be equal in front of the eyes of the law. They need to.
Yes.
I think they should have to carry liability insurance.
I heard something about this.
So you could require that in order to operate as an officer in the city, you need to carry a liability insurance premium, and pay the premium. And then obviously if you engage in more risky activity, that would make your premium go up. So it would be a liability on the department to hire you if you were a bad actor and you just repeatedly were getting, complaints against you or having to pay out lawsuits. I think that they shouldn't be kind of just I don't think that they should be on like beats like how they are. I don't think
just looking for shit.
Yeah, I think they should be more like firefighters where they come
they
when
get
they're
called out.
Right. And then getting it so people have a lot less of a problem with firefighters because they're not as on top of you. They're not this whole like road pirate thing where you just get stopped and get a ticket, and then the road stop is a way for them to look into your car and do other stuff. That's a problem. They don't. I don't really see why they need to have a monopoly on that service. Like traffic infringements can be stopped by people that don't have weapons. And then if the person was non-compliant, then they could call the police. And then, so for example, people back to who gets called and why, and police getting called to the scene for this or that instead of, or showing up automatically instead of being called to the scene like a firefighter, is that a lot of this goes back into the defund the police thing, is that it's changing some of their responsibilities. So why do they need to show up automatically to any kind of like mental health problem where somebody is going to commit suicide or something like that? Not to say that they can't be called if things got dangerous or if they suspected that the person had a weapon. Okay, then let the person call or make it so that calling the police is I keep this as a personal philosophy. Like I can't call the police on anybody that I am okay with never seeing again, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You never. There's human error, and the police, they kill people they're not supposed to sometimes, and as we're seeing at a rate that is not really comfortable for a lot of people, and it's not really comfortable for a lot of people in the black community. So that's just like my personal philosophy, and I don't expect everybody to be like that. Like, you'd have to do something really, 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 really bad for me to call the police, if anything at all. And because I know how it can be. And I think back to my whole thing of eliminating or minimizing human errors, that there should just be less interactions with them in general. So I think they should do less things. They should have less responsibility. Like, they shouldn't be called for every thing. There should be less reasons for them to stop people. There should be less things that are illegal. The whole roads thing, like, why do you need to get stopped by a police officer to get a ticket for speeding? Like, they can just kind of like in their megaphone say like, okay, I got your license plate, I'm going to send you the ticket online.
Right.
Damn. All right.
Right. I mean, well, basically what the street cameras do.
Damn it. Right. Like they could do that. But even then, I mean, that's not really ideal either. The liability insurance, I think, is a possible thing. They need to bust the police union. Like, every unions across the country, and some people say it's a good thing, some people say it's a bad thing, have been busted. Like, they're not popular, they're expensive, nobody wants to be in them. But that police union, oh man, that thing is efficient and strong, and just has it makes them operate like a gang, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I think the most important thing is that we need to hold them accountable when they commit something wrong. When they do something wrong, it's like
there shouldn't be no-knock raids. They shouldn't be going into people's houses without permission. And then again, this whole thing, the whole SWAT thing, the whole raid thing, that's all from the drug war. And I think that by saying, okay, you know what, you guys can have your marijuana, you guys can have your cocaine, it would just, like, so many problems would be eliminated by that. Yeah. And then people think, oh yeah, we're just gonna have crackheads running around. Like, no. The drugs have gotten worse because they need to be more efficient and more potent in a smaller amount, because people are trying to hide them all the time. And if they didn't, like, this guy presented at school once when I was in college, and he probably hated me. I was like being a smart ass to him. He was like some guy from the DEA talking about how they raid this or that, and they stop this and that, so many things. And I asked him, like, why? In one of his slides in the PowerPoint, he talks about how the number one way that terrorism is funded is through the drug trade. Like, they trade in opiates or whatever. They trade in heroin. They trade in things that are illegal, because that's how they can make money. Because being a criminal doesn't mean that you're like good at business. It just means that you can capitalize off of something that's illegal, right? The only reason why prostitution and drugs are so expensive is because you can't get them in the above ground markets. Right. So I asked him, I said, if you admit that openly that cartels and terrorist organizations that the U.S. is actively trying to fight, like Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah and whatever, are getting most of their funding from drugs, and that's again how they have these weapons and how they have artillery and whatever, because they're rich, because they're selling drugs. Why not? Why would you be opposed to legalization, which would overnight say, all right, well, you guys are out of business, now you're fucked? What did he say to that? He was like, oh, no, we don't agree with that. They tried that in Portugal, and the results are really bad. And I was like, sir, who would buy their marijuana from Hezbollah if they could just go get it at Walmart? Who?
What did he say to that?
He everybody, he just kind of shut me off. He's like some military guy, like talking down to me like he was a sergeant. Like
they would never fucking engage in a regular conversation with you, even though you raise valid points.
Right. I was like, no, literally nobody would choose to buy drugs from Hezbollah if they had the option to buy it from Amazon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you cannot make an argument against that. And it the same way I feel about the police is how I feel about the military. Like you said earlier, it's bloated. There's a bunch of money that goes into it every year that is really not necessary that we could be distributing in other ways. If we're going to fucking distribute our tax dollars, we might as well distribute it efficiently.
People think that any kind of cut to the military means like there's like a threat to the national security.
Yeah, we're going to die the next day.
They don't understand how much
Red Dawn.
They actually how much the military actually spends. I mean, if you look it up,
it's 50% of our national budget every year, isn't it?
It's maybe, and it's way, way, way more than any other country.
Yeah. Well, no, go ahead.
You would have to go back almost 100 years to have military spending in the United States military equal to the Chinese military today.
100 years ago.
You would have to go back almost 100 years. I don't remember the exact year. I think it's in the 30s or 40s of what we were spending that is equal to what China spends now. And people were scared of China. People think like, oh, China's going to kick our ass. And like, okay, well, no, they're not. But
I think it's just because of the sheer manpower. I mean, they just have so many more people than us that people get that impression.
I mean, they're not even really our enemy. Maybe they will be if Trump keeps on talking all this shit about them or whatever.
Yeah. But
this whole like Chinese fear, and then if you take any dime away from the Chinese, from the U.S. military, you were cutting funding from. The U.S. military has bases open from World War II, with people there actively working there every day. Like,
what do we need those for? We don't. And I think it's just everyone has a cousin or an uncle in the military. If you can't disrespect the forces, man, because you're disrespecting my pappy. It's like, listen, bro. Not every veteran over here has the Purple Heart. You know what I mean? Not everyone was a fucking war hero raising the flag up in World War II in that famous statue. Not everyone is 06
There hasn't been a draft in a long time. Yeah. Almost everybody that's in the military today is going for some kind of weird other reason that
hey, they pay my college benefits, or hey, I get a fucking pension in 30 years, or whatever. You know what I mean? Everyone's in there for the dental. You know what I mean? I need braces, so I'm joining the army. It's very weird. It's very
some
different.
Military guy is listening to this whenever it plays, getting pissed off. I guarantee it.
I mean, whoever listens to this, if you listen to it, but I think there's just so many topics that we could have covered. I mean, we've already been talking for over 2 hours, man.
Oh shit!
Is there any kind of like last minute topics you want to bring up that maybe we didn't touch on before we wrap up?
I think just the overall theme, man. That people give authority to people, and at a rate that is disturbing, and it's it leads to a lot of bad things in the world, and whether it's police or military or presidents or doctors or bankers or artists, they give them this kind of undeserved attention and obedience blindly most of the time that is just cause for I think a little bit more skepticism towards any kind of authority figure, especially the ones we talked about, especially the governmental ones, especially people talking about weapons or talking about what other countries are doing. I think they're lying like 99% of the time. The news. See, I got into this thing with my sister and my mom, and I'll try to keep it cut short.
No, go ahead.
That, whoever, forget them. If anybody's talking about like, oh, Trump this or Trump that, military this, I mean, the media this, the media that, people have their own interests, right? The media's interest is to sell media.
Sell their advertising spots.
Right. Yeah. They don't have any kind of duty or allegiance to the truth ever. That's not been a thing. It's not a thing. Right. There's whistleblowers that sometimes reveal things that we needed to know. But the media is a company, and they're just out to make money, and they'll lie to do it with losing no sleep at night.
But I do think journalism was once this kind of highly regarded career where, like, you had people uncovering Watergate, uncovering the Iran-Contra. That's all from investigative journesm, as far as I know.
Right, and I'm not trying to shit on that.
No, but I'm saying, like, before it used to have integrity. Now it doesn't. Like, where did that go?
The ability for it to be The news cycle is 24/7, and the only way to stay in that 24/7 thing is to have like this financial backing. So the truth can sometimes just fall through the cracks as like, oh shit, well, I mean, this guy's doing good reporting, but he doesn't have the avenue to get it across where it needs to go.
Okay, that's fair.
The same thing with the president. Like, the president's job is not to tell the truth. The president's job is to get reelected, and he'll do anything to do that.
Facts.
And you know, it sounds cynical, but like, our parents are just kids who had kids. You know, doctors and lawyers are just people that went to school. The president is a guy who won a popularity contest. The police, they didn't even do any of the above.
I guess stop handing this power and putting these people on these pedestals when they don't deserve it.
Right, and you know, we do that so often to this scary extent where people are listening to experts or people or just listening to people that aren't even experts and then pretending they are just so they can feel better about why they agree with them, so that they don't feel like they're being, I don't know, a pussy or something. It's we saw it a lot in the lockdown. We see it a lot with the police brutality protests, and we see it just every day. Like, people just kind of falling in line, and you ask them why, or you kind of question, and it's just because, I don't know.
The black square thing.
It's easier
because
that
someone
way.
said it to me, told me to post it, I posted it.
Yeah, I didn't know. It didn't really cross their mind. They didn't really put that. So I think we'd live in a world that we'd more want to live in if less people just kind of gave away their autonomy, and we're a little bit more skeptic of things.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to be, man. When you got fake news, everyone it seems like they're lying to you. You got the Colin Kaepernick workout, that was a sham. Kobe died. Like, what is there to look forward to right now? What is there to look forward to? I mean, the summer's here. Can't go to the beach. I mean, the beach is just maybe open. I mean, it's gonna be crowded as fuck. Do you really want to go to the beach? You can go to Universal. You got to wear a mask all day. You know what I mean? Like, what is there to look forward to, man? It's really shitty. So it's hard not to be cynical. I was cynical before all this shit. This just made me that much more cynical, to be honest with you. So at this point, I don't know, man. I just sit here. I talk shit with people. I put it out, and I hope that something comes of it, man. That's pretty much all I can do.
Well, this was fun, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming down, bro. Why don't you have your own podcast? Too much work?
You're not the first person to ask me that.
Yeah. It is a lot of work, man.
You know what
sometimes I don't want to do
of?
it.
I'm really not tech savvy.
Okay.
That end of it, I think I would be like, I think the talking I would be great, and I could kill it. But I like whatever you've been doing with these buttons and stuff scares the shit out of me.
I hear you, dude. It's intimidating, man. Like, last time you had a producer,
right? You
know, but like, people just don't always put in the effort you expect them to for something that's your, head baby.
Yeah, I've been the guest on I can't even count anymore. Yeah, like a lot already. But so I know I could probably be on the other end. But yeah, the buttons, man, terrifying.
Okay, one more thing I wanted to ask before we skedaddle. Intellectual rights, I guess. What is
property?
It? Intellectual property. Why does that not exist to you?
When did I bring that up?
I just
you saw it online or something?
I come across a post where you brought it up, something about copyright laws or some shit. I don't know, but someone was mentioning intellectual property, and as a musician, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's just something that's kind of like, okay, well then how do they make their money? If you could just say, or you could write my song.
Okay, so I don't believe in intellectual property. I don't, and then it's funny that something you saw that you remembered.
Well, because that's, like I said, it's as a musician. I mean, it's hard not.
Yeah, I get flack from a few people that are in the artist space for that kind of thing, and I understand why. So I think just it's intellectual property is a misnomer. It's an oxymoron. I think it's not property. It cannot be property, and that's
because it's not physical.
Because it's not rivalrous. Because it's not scarce.
Rivalrous. What does that mean?
Like, meaning that. So if I'm holding this water bottle, you can't hold it. So this can be my property, right? We can't have it at the same time. Is it mine or is it yours?
Okay.
But if you have an idea and you tell me the idea, we can both have it.
Okay.
And I'm not taking it from you.
I mean, literally you're not. But theoretically.
So like music, for example. Like music. Music, what is music? Music is a combination of the way you made sounds using your equipment.
Okay.
Right. So if I stole your equipment and then I made the same sound, then I'd be damaging you in some way. I would have taken your music. But if I just use my instrument and repeat my fingers in the same combination that you use them, I'm not stealing anything from you. I didn't damage you. Now, the response to that musicians and writers and copyright people say is like, oh, well, like but that's not fair. Like, how am I supposed to make money if people are allowed to steal my stuff? Well, and the law is not made so that you can make money. The purpose of the law is not so that some people can make money. The purpose of the law is justice, or is supposed to be at least. And that's the thing is that.
So you think patent laws are dumb?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's because, I mean, I might get this argument wrong, but patent laws are dumb because it stifles ingenuity. Because like
I think, well, first I just think it's a violation of my right. Like you patent you make a patent on something, so you now are not allowing anybody to make something very similar to what you made, even though they're using all of their own property. Right? So how can you tell me what I can do? I mean, it's very anti-freedom, this whole like intellectual property thing. And I think there's ways that you could defend your intellectual property. Like property is only property insofar as you can defend it. Right, so my house is my house because I can have a dog, I can have an alarm, I can maybe call the cops if somebody was robbing me. I have property right. I can defend it. If you intrude on it, I could hurt you to not let you intrude on it. With music, it's way tougher. So in music, you can sell a CD, and then on the CD it says like if by buying this CD, you're kind of agreeing not to copy this. So then there's an avenue for you to go after somebody or whatever. You see photographers do it with watermarks.
Yeah.
That's their way of trying to protect their property.
Okay.
So it's not impossible. Like, and I don't have any problem with any of that kind of stuff. Like that, if that's what you want to do, if you want to like protect if you want to see artists will give out a snippet, and then once you pay, okay, I'll give you the full thing. Now, once the person at the other end has the full thing, it's kind of hard to protect music. But I would we really want, as a musician and as a fan of music, would you really want it to be the total opposite, where music was just totally protected and you could only have it if you bought it?
Well, I'd be a hypocrite if I said yes, because I've torrented albums.
You'd probably be a worse musician yourself. You'd probably know so much less about music if you had to pay for so much of the music.
I wouldn't be a fan of one of my favorite bands right now because I never bought any of their media until I got into vinyls, and I bought all their vinyls. But I never bought a CD, never bought an album on iTunes. It was all downloaded or streamed on YouTube. Before Spotify was huge, before Apple Music existed, before Tidal existed.
Yeah. So I think we talked about this last time a little bit in that artists have to kind of deal with the reality, and that it's unfortunate, like they thought, or maybe not anymore because now it's like a new world completely and they've already grown up into it. But originally artists, especially like Metallica or whatever, they went after Napster. They thought, oh, we should be able to make money off of our music. Now the kind of model is a little different, and now they have to make money off of shows or merchandise and whatever.
Streaming has kind of changed that back into the favor of you can actually make money off a song now.
Yeah, again. And then look, streaming, people are paying for music again because it's easy to have Spotify instead of downloading torrents. It's easy to have Apple Music.
Yeah, honestly, it's more convenient to stream shit than it is to torrent it until you got to get on a plane or something.
Yeah, But back to the intellectual property thing. The way it was explained to me a long time ago was, you have this idea, or I don't know, Warner Brothers, whoever owns it has this idea of this character that goes out at night and fights criminals, and he dresses up as a bat. Okay, they have the rights to this, and they call him Batman. Now you have a similar idea, and you want to make a movie about it. You can't. They can go after you. They can put you in jail or sue you or take your money if you come up with an idea that's similar enough to that. And so that stops your point. Now, when it comes to other things like patents and copyrights and recipe, Coca-Cola has like rights over whatever their Coke,
that color, that
ingredients
shade of
is
red.
and whatever.
Yeah.
Right. That for sure is stifling innovation and whatnot. Like when patent law, the specific examples become extremely egregious, and this is a problem in drugs. Because people patent drugs, and then that's why they're so expensive, because they're not able to be replicated.
It's illegal to make these drugs that could save lives because someone put a patent on it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are dying because of these intellectual property laws on drugs.
Never heard that point made before. It's a solid point.
It goes deep, man. It's
deeper than, hey, man, I don't want my SoundCloud shit ripped off, huh?
Yeah. And again, I'm sympathetic for people that someone steals their shit. And I think when rappers steal shit, that they should at least give a hat tip. You know, like yo, shout out to the like the Childish Gambino with the "This Is America" song was like totally ripped off by American Pharoah.
Nani? For
Yeah.
real?
Yeah.
What?
Listen to them side by side. It's like it's the older one that he ripped off is better actually.
What? Really?
The rappers.
This Is America is so good though.
Yeah, well, it's copied.
Oh, so Stairway to Heaven, dude. So fuck y'all, man.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin just ripped off all these old
Yeah,
like
so all you old heads
R&B
go fuck off.
groups.
Yeah.
Right, and Drake does it all the time. Like he's just
Drake's
copies
a drill head now.
bunch of them.
Like he's from the UK now or
Yeah.
some shit. Yeah, no, it's a good point, man. Then a lot of people had problems with Drake because he was doing that fake Jamaican accent for a while or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Man, that's my
weird.
thing on intellectual property. I think if it was enforced to the max, that people that pretend that they're for it would if it was enforced as badly as some people pretend like they want it to be, it'd be
People
a world
would see
we
it
don't want to
differently.
live in. Yeah, I mean the music innovation would be nothing. The movie innovation would be nothing. Drugs, all this, there just wouldn't be any room to kind of breathe because as it stands now, like if you build something and then you get a patent on it, I can't even build something that has some of the same components of what you built, even if I'm building something totally different. And it's just it has a lot of bad consequences. And it's bad overall.
Yeah, that's super nutty.
But the whole point is that ideas are not rivalrous. You can have an idea and I can have an idea. You can if you have an idea and I steal your idea, you still have your idea. So you're still like whole. I didn't damage you, and the law is not there to ensure that you make money.
That's okay, and those are solid points. I can't argue with them at the moment. But
I hope
watch
you,
out for
I hope
part
you can
3.
later. Yeah,
The
part
trilogy.
3. We're gonna debate on that.
But no, I mean, I just wanted to get your take on that, and you did raise some solid points. Like my view is a little bit changed on that now. When the drug points, that's all solid. So, just giving you guys some food for thought, man. Think about it, Eric. Man, it was a solid episode, man. Thank you so much for talking to me, man.
Hey,
I appreciate
thank you, for
it.
real.
Boom, got that shit.